She is the Empress of the Great Flame Dynasty, yet she was forced to marry a waste with no cultivation as her husband. Little did she know, the man was none other than the mysterious powerhouse, King of Hell, who previously annihilated the Blood Cloud Tower and Black Soul Hall. His strength was so profound that even dragons governing heavenly rules bowed to him. After dressing himself in Zhong Yanming in night attire, Xiao Tian was very satisfied. Worthy of my choice, this outfit looks like it's made for escaping. Alright, wait for me a moment, I'm going to clean up the scene. With that, Xiao Tian suddenly burst forth with energy, and without making a move, the palace below started to tremble. In an instant, sand filled the sky, the ground sank, and all the buildings of Black Soul Hall disappeared into the earth. Zhong Yanming was left dumbfounded. Prince, just how strong are you? What realm are you in? Could you be above the 10th level? Xiao Tian honestly replied, I have no realm. I don't even have spiritual energy. Haven't you noticed? Zhong Yanming realized this fact a bit too late. Prince does indeed seem like an ordinary person, but why are you so strong? Don't guess. My strength is a bit special and seems to be increasing. I don't know just how powerful I am yet, but luckily, I'm very good at control. Otherwise, the Great Flame Dynasty would have already been destroyed. Destroyed? Zhong Yanming's scalp tingled in fear. It seems like it wouldn't be a difficult feat for someone with Prince's abilities. If I were a bit stronger, would I not have been so easily kidnapped? Thinking of this, Zhong Yanming clenched his fist and asked Xiao Tian, Prince, could you give me some guidance on cultivation? Xiao Tian was taken aback. You want to cultivate? I remember Zhongling saying you're not really interested in cultivation. You've been focusing all your attention on the affairs of the Great Flame Dynasty. Zhong Yanming became serious. After witnessing Prince's strength, my views have changed. This time, Black Soul Hall had something for me to do. That's why they didn't harm me. What if next time, someone sets their sights directly on the Great Flame Dynasty and wants to harm me? So, this incident with Prince has also given me some inspiration. If I appear weak on the surface, waiting for those who want to harm me to reveal themselves, can't I just take them down in one fell swoop? With a sly smile covering his face, Zhong Yanming made his point. Xiao Tian was speechless. This guy is so cunning, planning to play the fool to catch the wise. Xiao Tian directly took a refusing posture. You can do it without involving me. I simply wanted to enjoy a peaceful life, and they forced me to act. But it's good for you to practice. It will save a lot of trouble. Have you thought about your alias yet? Zhong Yanming scratched his head, looking confused. Alias? What alias? So stupid. Everyone in this world has an alias. Think of one in advance so you can announce it when you act. I had a friend who used to ambush people in the toilet, earning him the nickname the Slaughterer of the Restroom. So, be serious about it. What if people call you the Heavy Cavalry? Xiao Tian spoke with righteous indignation, but Zhong Yanming only mumbled in bewilderment. Your friend, Xiao Tian, interrupted him. That's not the point. The point is your alias. Have you thought of one? Hearing this, Zhong Yanming's eyes turned determined. Call me Heavy Cavalry. Xiao Tian subconsciously praised him. Decisive and manly. Wait, are you sure you want to go with that name? Zhong Yanming nodded confidently. Yes, Heavy Cavalry it is. Heavy represents the weight of the responsibilities of the Great Flame Dynasty. Cavalry symbolizes charging into battle. I really like this name. Zhong Yanming then spoke again. Prince, could you do me a favor? Xiao Tian glared at him. Why do you have so many requests? Come on, Prince. How about this? Instead of preparing 5 meals a week for you, I'll prepare 10. Xiao Tian immediately brightened up. Speak, what is it? Zhong Yanming pointed at the ruins below. Could Prince write a line of text? Right. The affairs of the Great Flame, the King of Hell is destined to conquer. Make it big enough to cover the entire valley. I want to make a splash in these murky waters using the name of Prince, a hidden powerhouse. Let's see who has their eyes on our Great Flame Dynasty and what they're after. Xiao Tian stared at him blankly, unable to resist commenting. You're really scheming, aren't you? No sooner had he spoken than he felt a sudden jolt in his heart. He turned to look behind him. Oh no, my wife is coming. Quick, run. After leaving the name King of Hell on the ground, he stirred up a gust of wind with a loud boom and flew away immediately. Watching Prince disappear into the horizon, Zhong Yanming couldn't help but marvel at how incredibly powerful he was. Then he looked at the speed of the Empress. In comparison, she was really slow. A moment later, Empress gently descended in front of Zhong Yanming, enveloped in golden light. Seeing him unharmed, she was a bit puzzled. Uncle Zhong, are you okay? On closer inspection, she became even more confused. Didn't Zhong Li Huang say that you were kicked out in nothing but your undergarments? How come you're now dressed in a high-grade spiritual artifact? Then, the Empress casually turned her head and exclaimed, Holy crap, this is King of Hell. Zhong Yanming proceeded to explain, Your Majesty, I was originally captured by Heavenly Killer Pang Tong, one of the 6 evils under the banner of the Black Soul Hall. According to Bai Qinglian, they wanted me to protect Prince from Luo Yin. Listening intently, Empress furrowed her brows, seemingly puzzled. Zhong Yanming continued, That's when King of Hell appeared. He was dressed in black, and I couldn't see his face clearly. Bai Qinglian and the others were killed by him. Not only did he give me an antidote, but he also allowed me to take all the treasures from the Black Soul Hall. He said he wasn't interested in them. A look of disbelief covered Empress's face. If that's the case, what does this King of Hell want? It seems he desires the current stability of the Great Flame Dynasty. He doesn't want us to be influenced by Black Soul Hall and Blood Cloud Tower. Your Majesty, think about it carefully. Lu Outyen has been devotedly serving the Great Flame. Also, Black Soul Hall not only refrained from offending the Great Flame a few years ago, but even took the initiative to confront Blood Cloud Tower on our behalf. Don't their goals seem to align? Their goal is to fatten up the Great Flame Dynasty's national power and resources, much like fattening up a pig before slaughter, Zhong Yangming said. Empress nodded thoughtfully. Based on what you've said, that seems to be the case. Zhong Yangming then took out the storage ring that Xiao Tian had given him. Your Majesty, this is a gift from King of Hell. After sensing its contents, Empress was amazed. It's full of high-grade spiritual artifacts. King of Hell is really generous. It seems he genuinely wants the Great Flame Dynasty to prosper. I wonder what he's up to. Zhong Yangming couldn't help but think sarcastically, what else could he be up to? He probably just wants to indulge in food, drink, and leisure, and not worry about anything else. Oh, I need to ask Zhongling how Prince managed to annoy Poisonous Marsh Elder to death. After putting away the ring, Empress told Zhong Yangming, let's hurry back. General Zhong and Zhongling are quite worried about you. Thank you, Your Majesty. No sooner had Zhong Yangming spoken than he was enveloped in a force field. Empress then took him and flew into the sky. Only then did he realize how incredibly fast she actually was. Not long after, Zhongli Xuan and Zhongling were sighing in worry when Zhongling suddenly stood up, smacking Zhongli Xuan on the side. Mom, look! Zhongli Xuan looked and instantly teared up, mouth wide open. My husband is back. Despite the dark circles under his eyes, he looked rather spirited in his high-grade spiritual artifacts. Zhongli Xuan rushed forward to embrace her husband, and they both broke down in tears. It's all my fault. If I hadn't argued with you yesterday, none of this would have happened. No, it's my fault for making you angry, Zhong Yangming said. Zhongling looked on, rather annoyed. Enough. You two have been married for years. Why are you being so mushy? I can't stand it. Hearing this, Zhongli Xuan finally let go of her husband and turned around to poke Zhongling on the head. Empress looked at the harmonious family scene and smiled contentedly, although there was a tinge of wistfulness in her smile. How wonderful it is to be with family. Whenever she dealt with petitions late at night, she would think about the happiness of other families and could only console herself with the thought, even if I'm alone, I can still manage. That night, after finishing her work, Empress stretched, feeling satisfied. A maid quickly approached and asked, Your Majesty, would you like some late-night snacks brought over? No need. I'm not really in the mood today. Has the back palace study been cleaned up? The maid seemed hesitant, stammering, It has been cleaned up. Tired and not noticing anything amiss, Empress walked directly to the back palace, only to find something seemed different. Usually, during her rest periods, there would be minimal lighting in the back palace, especially in the front yard, which should be dim and chilly. Why is it different today? She thought. Picking up her pace, she saw her husband, Xiao Tian, sitting on a stone chair. Seeing Empress arrive, Xiao Tian smiled. You've been working so hard. How about a hot pot late-night snack? You've probably never had something like this. Empress paused, emotion welling up inside her. How are you? Here. Xiao Tian stood up and guided Empress to sit down. Commander Lu told me that you have a small habit. Whenever you're up late handling state affairs, you like to have some late-night snacks. Eating alone isn't much fun, so I prepared some local delicacies from my hometown to reward you, Your Majesty, for all your hard work. As he spoke, Xiao Tian picked up a piece of meat with his chopsticks. For hot pot, you need to cook the ingredients in the broth. Each ingredient has its own cooking time. Try this one. Unfortunately, we don't have sesame sauce here, otherwise a single dip would make it incredibly fragrant. Xiao Tian blew on the meat to cool it down. Your Majesty, please, have a taste. Empress's cheeks flushed as she obediently opened her mouth to try it. After carefully chewing, she felt the delicious flavors spread across her palate, making her cheeks even rosier. Prince serves me so well, I'm very pleased. You deserve a reward. Xiao Tian looked at her with interest. What would Your Majesty like to reward me with? Empress returned his gaze fervently. I reward you with the chance to feed me again. Xiao Tian smiled. Your Majesty, please wait a moment. The piece of meat I'm cooking for you this time requires special attention, so you'll have to wait. Empress silently watched Xiao Tian as he busied himself, feeling a sense of appreciation. It's so good not to be alone, she thought. The two continued to eat, drink, and chat happily, enjoying the steaming hot pot. Before they knew it, it was already late into the night. Finally full and satisfied, Xiao Tian put down his chopsticks. Standing up, he said, Your Majesty, it's getting late. I should be going. As he finished speaking, a ring on his hand emitted a glow, and the tableware was quickly put away. Xiao Tian prepared to leave, but Empress suddenly spoke. Why go through all the trouble? Just stay here and rest. Upon hearing these words, Xiao Tian felt a jolt in his heart. He turned to look at Empress, who was smiling at him, her eyes shining like autumn water. It seemed like it was going to be another restless night. In the middle of the night, Xiao Tian lay in bed while Empress sat upright, meditating. Xiao Tian was a bit speechless, so she invited me here just to watch her meditate, but her way of meditating is really something else. As time passed, Xiao Tian began to doze off. In his half-asleep state, he suddenly jolted awake. What on earth is that? A majestic dragon was spiraling around Empress, making her appear even more awe-inspiring. Feeling quite annoyed, Xiao Tian thought, why can't I cultivate? I want these cool visual effects effects too. He suddenly remembered the system, puppy, and called out to it in his mind. However, the system displayed a message saying it was undergoing an upgrade. Growing impatient, Xiao Tian thought, why isn't it done upgrading yet? Upon hearing this, puppy immediately paused its upgrade. I'm sorry, master, how may I assist you? Xiao Tian pointed to the dragon surrounding Empress. Can I get those light effects too? Puppy clarified, master, those aren't just light effects. They're the Emperor's dragon energy and royal purple energy that surrounds Ziruoyan. These are extremely rare and dignified energies that belong to the human race's legitimate lineage. Disdain appeared on Xiao Tian's face. Legitimate lineage of the human race? Is it so impressive? Puppy responded, master, there are thousands of different worlds in the universe, each with their own traditions and races. Ziruoyan's lineage is from the most legitimate among these in the realm of thousands of worlds. Xiao Tian finally got serious. Thousands of realms and worlds, and the legitimate lineage of the human race is so powerful? Does that mean the realm we are currently in is one of the most core ones? No, master, the realm you are in is called the Southern Wilderness Realm, also known as the Southern Wilderness World. It's one of the most desolate, impoverished, and fragile realms among the thousands of realms and worlds, Puppy explained. Hearing this, Xiao Tian was rendered speechless. So, I'm in the worst one? Fine, go back to upgrading. Subsequently, he looked at Empress with a goofy grin. Who would have thought I'd be so lucky? Summoned to another world, and not only do I get an Empress as a wife, but she also has golden legendary potential. Just as Xiao Tian was entranced by Empress, she suddenly opened her eyes and looked at him. Startled, he quickly turned around, his face flushing as he stammered, I was just looking, not doing anything. Seeing his reaction, Empress chuckled affectionately. Then, Empress ended her meditative state. With a wave of her small hand, the lights dimmed, shrouding the room in soft darkness. Alright, let's rest, she said as she lay down. Xiao Tian could only nod and obediently follow suit. After some time passed, under the increasingly bright starry sky, Xiao Tian, who was deep in sleep, was suddenly awoken by Empress, who kissed him lightly. Pulling away, she softly explained, my word is my bond. Since I said I would reward you, I won't just casually go back on it. It's just that it's a bit late. Xiao Tian's face turned red, and one thought dominated his mind. Did I just lose my first kiss like that? He moved closer to Empress, whispering in her ear, can you still sleep? Meanwhile, a group of people dressed in black robes looked at the writings on the ground, completely astonished. Black Soul Hall and Blood Cloud Tower have just disappeared like that, without a trace. Elder Wu Haobo looked disdainful. Bai Qinglian is really useless, can't even handle such a small matter. At these words, the two men in black robes who were with him immediately became unhappy. Wu Haobo, we're all in the same boat here. The Bai Temple Master is dead. What's the use of speaking ill of him now, especially when he died fighting against someone as powerful as the King of Hell? He died like a man. However, the next second, Wu Haobo snapped. Nonsense. Following his outburst, a sharp attack instantly pierced through the forehead of one of the men. The remaining few stared at him in shock. Is this the same Wu Haobo who was afraid of dying? He's just an elder of a minor division, and yet his move was so swift and powerful. Trembling, one of them cautiously asked, you've actually reached the 9th rank already? Wu Haobo smirked. When facing someone as strong as the King of Hell, one must be careful with their words and show some respect. Those who don't surrender and choose to provoke are just asking for death. Fortunately, our sect planned for one of us to be in the open and the other hidden. Otherwise, how would our sect ever get word of what's happened here? At this, the few were even more astonished. You and Bai Qinglian are actually from the same sect? Wu Haobo didn't answer but muttered to himself, Bai Qinglian, my foolish junior brother, you almost ruined our sect's big plans. He then turned to the crowd. My junior brother Bai Qinglian is dead. It's my turn to come into the light and take temporary control of the Black Soul territory. From now on, all the divisions will combine into one. Gathering our forces, the Southeastern Sandstone Division will serve as the main temple for now. Everyone quickly bowed their heads in agreement. After finishing his instructions, Wu Haobo thought grimly, King of Hell, once reinforcements from my sect arrive, you won't be jumping around any longer. On the other side, in the backyard of Empress's study, Empress was writing. Xiao Tian, holding a book, asked, wife, isn't the story in the Emperor's journey a bit exaggerated? Empress replied, no, what's recorded in the book are all true experiences of my father. Everything can be verified. Although it may seem incredible, it's precisely because of such incredible experiences that my father was able to achieve such great feats. Xiao Tian was speechless. He didn't pick up the wrong book, but his wife's father was actually named Esteemed Purple Emperor. What's with this cringeworthy, overly dramatic name? And this biography reads like a wish fulfillment story. The book actually says that a long time ago, an old scholar found a baby at his doorstep and named him Esteemed Purple Emperor. However, Esteemed Purple Emperor was different from others from a young age. There were sounds of dragon roars in his dreams. Unfortunately, when he was tested at the age of 5, his talent was deemed extremely low. At that time, he suffered a lot of disdain and ridicule from others. Finally, at the age of 16, after experiencing a broken engagement and his foster father's suicide, he attempted to take his own life. Fortunately, his suicide attempt failed, and instead, he stumbled upon a cave filled with spiritual energy in the form of elixirs. With the influx of this vast elixir, esteemed Purple Emperor's Supreme Emperor's body finally awakened. Later, esteemed Purple Emperor broke through his limitations and traveled the world. He met his companions and gradually made a name for himself. However, the genius girl who broke off their engagement, along with the son of a promoted county magistrate, couldn't stand to see esteemed Purple Emperor leading such a successful life. So they frequently sought to cause trouble for esteemed Purple Emperor, even escalating their efforts to the point of attempting to assassinate him at his home. To protect himself, esteemed Purple Emperor had no choice but to kill the son of the county magistrate. Little did he know, this son was actually the illegitimate child of the current prime minister. To protect this younger son from potential harm from his legitimate wife, the prime minister had secretly placed the child under the care of his student, the county magistrate. Now that the child was killed, esteemed Purple Emperor had angered the powerful and had no choice but to flee while facing assassination attempts. Eventually, after discovering that all his friends and family in his hometown were killed by the prime minister, esteemed Purple Emperor became enraged. He killed the county magistrate, took up arms, and started a rebellion. A few years later, at just 20 years old, he founded the nation of Great Flame and became the great emperor that his foster father, the old scholar, had always believed he would be. Reading this, Xiao Tian couldn't help but be impressed. What an awe-inspiring father-in-law, just like the main character of a novel. Although the story seemed extraordinarily thrilling and reasonable, something felt odd to him. Seeing him furrow his brows, Empress asked, "What's on your mind? You look concerned." Xiao Tian then slowly explained, "Your father had an extraordinary encounter in that cave, awakening his potential. He wanted to study at the Four Directions Academy, but had no way to get in. At that time, the county magistrate's cousin was present and provoked your father. They fought and caught the attention of the academy's tutor, who then admitted your father." Empress nodded. "Indeed, that was one of the fortunate twists in my father's life, full of hardships. Your Majesty, don't you find it odd?" Xiao Tian continued. "If you look at the story of esteemed Purple Emperor from a different perspective, something about his life experiences doesn't add up." Hearing this, Empress suddenly turned her head and said, "What do you mean?" "Based on my inference, when esteemed Purple Emperor first entered the academy, he had little to no resources. However, shortly after enrolling, he was provoked by the cousin of the county magistrate's son. He won several spirit stones and elixirs from the duel, the prodigious girl who broke off the engagement, and she initiated a challenge herself. She lost to your father, giving him a substantial amount of academic credits, which could be used to exchange for various resources at the academy. Coincidentally, your father didn't have a suitable spiritual artifact at the time, so these academic credits came just in time. Later, when your father left the Four Directions Academy and wandered the world with your mother, the county magistrate's son secretly mobilized the power of his biological father, the prime minister, to ambush him. Your father not only killed the county magistrate's son, but also those who were trying to assassinate him, gathering a large amount of resources in the process. When he rose in rebellion in Luo County, the prime minister was enraged and sent troops to suppress him. Each time your father clashed with the imperial army, he captured a great deal of military supplies and provisions, expanding his territory in the process. Finally, during a standoff against the prime minister's army led by Prince himself, your father fought to a standstill with the prime minister's four great Vidras. He had a breakthrough on the battlefield, killed the four great Vidras first, and then decapitated the prime minister, putting an end to this long-standing grudge. Empress listened intently as Xiao Tian continued. "Don't you find it strange that at every turn, your father seemed to gain precisely the resources he needed, almost as if some unseen force was arranging things for him?" Hearing this, Empress suddenly stopped writing and turned to face Xiao Tian, asking, "Are you sure you're reading the biography of the esteemed Purple Emperor?" Xiao Tian still looked skeptical and said, "If you remove all the emotional text that portrays how miserable your father's life was, and only look at the outcomes and gains, the situation becomes very interesting. This prime minister of Great Han could have directly sent his four great Vidras to resolve the issues from the start, but instead, he kept sending experience, equipment, money, territory, and even supplies. Toward the end, he even gave up his own life, catapulting your father's fame to the peak." The more Empress listened, the more startled she became. She quickly put down her brush, went over to Xiao Tian, and grabbed the book to flip through it. Sure enough, the content was as Xiao Tian described. Seeing how worked up Empress was, Xiao Tian tried to comfort her, saying, "I don't know if it's really this coincidental or if someone with a twisted sense of humor has been manipulating things all along. After being adopted by an old scholar who wrote storybooks for a living, your father led a life similar to that of a storybook protagonist." This thought alarmed Empress. Could my father's legendary life have actually been manipulated by someone? She wondered silently. "No, something is wrong here." She told Xiao Tian to keep this hypothesis a secret, stowed away in their hearts. "Regardless of the truth, strength is what matters most. My cultivation has been going very smoothly lately. Even reaching the 10th level won't take too long," she said. With that, she patted Xiao Tian on the shoulder and assured him, "Don't worry, I've got this. Any conspiracies or schemes, any fog of deception, all would be laughable in the face of absolute strength. Even if the situation situation deteriorates to an irreparable state. If anyone wants your life, they'll have to step over my dead body first. After speaking, Empress blushed slightly and turned back to her desk. Xiao Tian was left somewhat bewildered by her words. Hold on, all I did was casually read a book and share some afterthoughts. How did the topic suddenly shift to matters of life and death and profound vows? And what's with my wife, the Empress? Why is she trying to flirt with me so abruptly? Ugh, this is frustrating. I'm feeling sleepy again. Might as well lie down, he thought. With his current leisurely lifestyle, he mused that he could easily write a storybook titled The Royal Son-in-Law. The overbearing Empress falls in love with me. Amused by his own thoughts, Xiao Tian yawned out of boredom. After some time, Empress finally finished her work and stretched beautifully. When she turned her head, she found that Xiao Tian had already fallen asleep. She smiled at the sight, thinking that having someone by her side felt indeed wonderful. She wondered, though, how long she could preserve this happiness. That day, Xiao Tian enjoyed a meal at cook Zhong Yangming's home while Zhong and his daughter practiced their stances in front of him, trembling with exhaustion. As Xiao Tian ate, he didn't forget to chastise Zhong. Squat lower. How are you even worse than your own daughter? Provoked by his words, Zhong Yangming couldn't hold on any longer and collapsed on the ground, panting heavily. Why is this so difficult? He muttered. Xiao Tian shook his head and said, practicing martial arts without foundational work is a waste. Your basics are too weak. You are far behind Ziruoyan in the same cultivation process. Her speed in cultivation is fast, but her foundation is very solid, perhaps due to her constitution. You should earnestly follow my training. Just look at how skilled your daughter is. Zhongling also turned her head to encourage her father. Dad, hang in there. Prince's cultivation methods are really effective. It's not just about honing the basics, it seems to enhance innate talent as well. Zhong Yangming was stunned. Enhance innate talent? Xiao Tian took a large gulp of fine wine. Your cultivation methods rely on borrowing the power of heaven and earth to improve yourselves. That's interesting in its own right. My past training focused on external body conditioning and internal energy cultivation. I focus on self-improvement, continuously exploring my own potential and breaking through human limits. This technique emphasizes transcending oneself, establishing one's inner world. The heart and mind communicate with each other, connecting with the heaven and earth. Zhong Yangming and his daughter were dumbfounded. This concept was simply inconceivable in their understanding. Xiao Tian shouted, all right, continue practicing. Your fatigue means you've just started getting into the groove. The real mental grind starts now. Seeing Zhong Yangming trembling uncontrollably, Xiao Tian couldn't help but inwardly chuckle. Zhong Yangming is actually a once-in-a-millennium martial arts prodigy. The title of heavy armored cavalry will probably spread far and wide before long. Meanwhile, at the residence of Chancellor Lu Outyen, who had been plotting to kill Xiao Tian, Lu Outyen was reviewing official documents. Suddenly, he sensed someone approaching. In the next second, a masked man appeared before him. The masked man respectfully presented a sealed letter. Sir, please take a look. Lu Outyen took the letter, his expression turning somber. Is there an issue with the Empire? They've actually sent someone to deliver a message directly. This is absolutely outrageous. The masked man quickly explained. Sir, there has been a slight issue in the aftermath of the Black Soul Hall's destruction. Lu Outyen snorted coldly. An issue? What kind of issue could there be? It's probably just the Holy Demon Sect sending more people. But the next second, Lu Outyen was stunned. How could this be? That's the Holy Demon Sect. He stood up immediately and inquired, how did the leader of the Holy Demon Sect die? What about the agreement? The man replied, Sir, the agreement still stands. According to the information provided by the Astral Pavilion, although the leader of the Holy Demon Sect is dead, a new leader will soon take his place. Lu Outyen seemed quite shocked. According to the information we have, the Holy Demon Sect wasn't completely wiped out. It seems someone else interfered, and the three-party agreement is still intact. Things are very complicated right now and prone to go wrong. Lu Outyen paced back and forth in his chamber, visibly unsettled. We've planned for so many years and expended so much in resources. There mustn't be any mistakes at this final juncture. Rest assured, sir, His Majesty has mentioned that our years of hard work will not go to waste. If the new leader of the Holy Demon Sect plays by the rules, all is well. If not, we're prepared for that too. As he said this, the masked man took out a talisman. Lu Outyen was immediately taken aback. What is this? He snatched the talisman. Has His Majesty gone mad? If this talisman is activated, it'll be a do-or-die situation. This is incredibly daring. To bring this here. No wonder someone was sent all this way. Delivering a message was just a ruse. This is the real deal, isn't it? Indeed. The masked man removed his mask and said, His Majesty's verbal order. At worst, it's a do-or-die situation. Lu Outyen was stunned. He actually sent you? It seems His Majesty is prepared for a battle of no return. He spoke coldly. Who else came with you? The man replied, The four great Vidras. It looks like we've indeed reached the final juncture. From now on, stay at the place I've prepared and try not to show yourselves. Understood. We are just a backup force and won't take any action unless absolutely necessary. With that, the masked man vanished in a flash, leaving only Lu Outyen standing there. He looked at the secret letter and muttered, 100 years of planning, and yet things are prone to go wrong at the most critical moment. What exactly happened? happened to the Holy Demon Sect. I've spent so many years working for the Eastern Flame Kingdom in the Great Flame. There can't be any mistakes now. Xiao Tian walked down the street and immediately a young man approached, offering him some local snacks. Prince, this is freshly made popcorn flour. Would you like to try some? Xiao Tian took it and asked, has your mother's illness been cured? The young man was overwhelmed with gratitude. Yes, she's better now. If it weren't for the medical expenses you lent us, my mother would have. Never mind. How does the popcorn flour taste? Xiao Tian gave a slight smile. It tastes excellent, but let me correct you. The money was not lent by me, but awarded by Her Majesty the Empress. Keep this in mind. The young man was teary-eyed. Rest assured, Prince, I'll engage in good deeds and won't let you down. As he continued down the road, an old lady approached. Prince, this handkerchief is carefully embroidered by me. Please give it to Her Majesty. If it weren't for you and Her Majesty lending me money, I wouldn't even know where to get money for my stall. Others joined in. Prince, please try these candied hawthorns I made by hand. Prince, this fruit is from my own farm. It's guaranteed to be sweet. Please take some back to try. Calls and praises echoed around him. Xiao Tian walked like the light of righteousness on earth. Countless villagers kept praising. The prince is such a good man. Ever since he married Her Majesty, the moral climate in the capital has been getting better and better. Exactly. Prince is charitable and kind, not associating with evil. Yes, people say that the prince is living off his spouse, but if one can live off their spouse to such an extent, who would object? How about we give Prince a nickname? That sounds like a good idea. Let's call him the Supreme Benevolent Sugar Baby Deity. Soon after, in a deserted corner, Xiao Tian sighed deeply. Zhongling and another person quickly asked what was wrong. Xiao Tian turned his head, his face full of gloom. Do you guys have nicknames? Zhongling was the first to answer. Yes, I'm called the Dancing Flame Sword. Back in the day, I fought through various talents across the Great Flame at the 5th level, and Her Majesty bestowed this name upon me. Xiao Tian looked even more miserable. And you? Lu Yan thought for a moment. Before the young general grew up, I was in charge of quelling bandits within the kingdom for a period. People called me the Hawk Dog under the Emperor. Hearing this, Xiao Tian was completely disheartened. Damn it, why do their nicknames sound so cool, while mine is the Supreme Benevolent Sugar Baby Deity? What kind of ridiculous name is that? Zhongling and Lu Yan looked at the dispirited figure of Xiao Tian. They didn't understand what had wronged him so deeply. They could only catch up quickly. Xiao Tian didn't notice that there was a beggar in the corner. As he walked past her, the female beggar lowered her head even more. Lu Yan felt a sense of unease. It looks like Prince really is in a bad mood. He even ignored a beggar and didn't give any money. After the three left, the female beggar quietly lifted her head, watching their retreating figures, and muttered, I didn't expect to find such a talented woman in a place like this. Quite surprising. Not long after, the three arrived at the Green Flame Town Distillery. The village head kept expressing gratitude. Prince, you truly are the savior of Green Flame Town. Not only did you fund the road construction, but you also introduced the Green Flame Empress wine. Additionally, you leased the southeast region of the Green Flame Mountain, breeding wild pigs, chickens, ducks, and other livestock, especially the wild pig meat. It has become the second iconic product of Green Flame Town following the Green Flame Empress wine. It's often in high demand. Xiao Tian felt a surge of pride. Those were the wild pigs he had protected with various formations around the mountain. The taste was simply indescribable. He told the village head, it's nothing. Everything I did was for the betterment of the town. I'm here to collect some wine and also head to the livestock farm on the southeast side of Green Flame Mountain to pick a pig for a feast. As he firmly held his hand, Xiao Tian thought, let go of me. I want meat and wine. Don't stop me. Zhong Yangming is waiting to cook for me. Just then, Xiao Tian suddenly heard a distant voice. How is this possible? It's just a pig farm. Why are there so many formations? What's with this formation? Unable to control himself, Xiao Tian roared. What's wrong with this world? In broad daylight, a young woman is up to such mischief. He sped off, shouting to his companions, wait here. I'll be right back. How dare they try to steal my pigs? Meanwhile, inside the formation at the pig farm, a woman was suspended in the air. This ancient formation is so annoying. I don't know how old it is, but it's so sturdy. It'll probably take hours for me to break free. I just wanted to taste the legendary Green Flame Mountain pork. Why is it so hard? I, the Demon Clan Empress, am stuck here. Suddenly, rapid footsteps approached. The woman was stunned. How can an ordinary person run so fast? Xiao Tian curiously looked at her. Isn't this the beggar I saw on the road earlier? But speaking of which, since when do beggars eat so well? Feeling Xiao Tian's gaze, Luo Fengyuan's face turned red, and she shouted, get lost, you stinky man. What are you looking at? A moment later, Xiao Tian suddenly spoke. This is my fault. I've caused you unnecessary suffering. Stepping forward, he reached out to touch the ancient formation. Startled, Luo Fengyuan quickly shouted, don't touch it. This formation is dangerous. Yet in the next second, the formation unraveled in Xiao Tian's hands like soft ropes being pulled apart. Luo Fengyuan, no longer restrained, landed beside Xiao Tian. He chuckled, relax. This is just a second tier, low-grade formation I had someone set up. See how thin these lines are? They're easy to undo. I apologize for my previous neglect due to my bad mood. If I had assisted you earlier, you wouldn't have been desperate enough to sneak up the mountain to steal a pig and get caught in the formation. Luo Fengyuan was stunned. Xiao Tian then took out a stack of silver notes and asked, "Is there anything else you need help with?" Still in shock, Luo Fengyuan inquired, "Are you very rich?" He hesitated. "Well, I guess I am." Luo Fengyuan's face turned slightly red. "Then, would you consider supporting me?" Now it was Xiao Tian's turn to be stunned. He looked her over, thinking, the world really has changed. Such a lovely girl first resorts to begging, then stealing, and now even considers selling herself and her soul. Is this how Luo Outyin governs his country? Luo Fengyuan, on the other hand, wondered, is he angry? I just saw how effortlessly he broke the constraints of the ancient formation. My approach is also related to the trilateral agreement. Why is he so peculiar in his thoughts? He wouldn't reject me, would he? He has no right to refuse me. Thinking this, Luo Fengyuan wiped the mud off her face and flicked her long hair, laughing, I am still very attractive. If I clean up and stay by your side, I won't embarrass you and will be very obedient. Seeing Xiao Tian staring intently at her, Luo Fengyuan giggled to herself. Indeed, no man could resist. Just then, Xiao Tian suddenly slapped Luo Fengyuan on the head and shouted word by word, "Stay away. If the Empress finds out, my peaceful life will be over." Luo Fengyuan held her head, utterly stunned. Damn it, there's actually a man who can reject me, and he's done it twice. But this pain, I kind of want to feel it again. She looked at him with a longing expression. Xiao Tian was completely baffled. Is this girl a little off? Why does she seem so happy even after I hit her? He squatted down and patiently explained, "Young lady, this kind of thinking isn't right, you know? As humans, we should strive to live positively and face the sunshine. How can you be so self-deprecating? If you're facing difficulties, you can talk to me about them." Without hesitation, Luo Fengyuan said, "No, I want to experience the feeling of getting something for nothing." Hearing this, Xiao Tian, who was initially trying to comfort her, clenched his fist in anger. "Are you really out of your mind, not listening to advice? I'm telling you to live a proper life, not to have such wild fantasies. Can't you understand?" As he spoke, Xiao Tian once again landed a punch on her head. Unexpectedly, Luo Fengyuan's face was filled with joy, and she said with a look of enjoyment, "Oh, how strange. Why can't this concubine understand?" Xiao Tian was about to scold. How can you possibly not understand? But in the next second, it seemed as if he had realized something. Understanding dawned on him, and his face was suddenly covered in cold sweat. Could it be this girl has awakened some strange fetish? Xiao Tian was terrified. If the Empress finds out, I'm probably going to be kicked out. Seeing the woman acting so clingy, he cautiously offered, "How about I take you home to find your parents?" But to his surprise, the beggar woman, with a face full of sorrow, responded, "My parents killed each other. They're both gone." Feeling helpless, Xiao Tian tried to persuade her, "Can you at least heed my advice and lead a good life?" With a lovesick expression, the beggar woman cooed, "This concubine doesn't understand." Annoyed by her behavior, Xiao Tian was about to slap her, thinking, she's really beyond redemption. She's driving me crazy. But just as his hand was about to hit her, he held back. He thought to himself, I can't slap her. She seems to enjoy it. As expected, the beggar woman looked up at him with an expectant look, not dodging his move at all. Frustrated, Xiao Tian punched the ground. What misfortune. I just wanted to enjoy some wild boar meat, and now I've got this mess on my hands. Not long after, at the Green Flame Town distillery, the village head spotted someone approaching. "Ha, is that Prince?" Zhongling and Lu Yan were taken aback. They quickly followed the direction the village head was pointing and exclaimed, "Wow, did Prince bring back a beautiful beggar woman?" The beggar woman, with a love-struck expression, shamelessly asked Xiao Tian, "This concubine is so tired. Can you carry me on your back?" Xiao Tian immediately turned and snapped at her, "Shut up. Walk on your own." Hearing this, the beggar woman once again showed that provoking expression, replying, "This concubine understands now." The village head, along with Zhongling and Lu Yan, were left stunned. Wasn't Prince going to catch the pig thief? Why did he bring back such a peculiar beggar woman? And does Prince always have such a temper? It wasn't until the two approached that Lu Yan finally pointed at the beggar woman and asked, "Prince, who is this?" Xiao Tian immediately handed the beggar woman over to the village head. "Please, make sure to find her a job at the women's packaging factory. Keep a close eye on her. She needs to undergo labor reform and understand the meaning of self-reliance. She should create her own future with her own hands through hard work." As he spoke, he couldn't help but slap the beggar woman on the head again. "Did you hear me?" The beggar woman, with a face full of joy, responded, "This concubine understands." Upon witnessing this scene, Zhongling and Lu Yan felt completely dumbfounded. What's with this woman? At this moment, Xiao Tian wanted to leave immediately. After instructing the village head to arrange everything, he bolted. The village head looked somewhat uneasy. "I didn't expect Prince, who has an empress, to be so audacious." Luckily, there was a residence that the townspeople had built as a gift for the prince. It came in handy now. All Xiao Tian could think was, women are so annoying. I need a drink. I want to eat the food made by Shong Yangming to console my wounded soul. Soon, the beggar woman was settled in the house. She sat by a stone table, lost in thought. That Xiao Tian is interesting. Since my parents passed away when I was young, no one has dared to hit or scold me like that. But this feeling of being disciplined, it's quite nice. If Xiao Tian saw her expression now, he would probably have have nightmares tonight. Suddenly, the woman's face turned cold. In a flash, several figures landed in front of her. It turned out they were 3 women from the demon clan. The leader was named the eldest. All 3 simultaneously addressed the beggar woman, Empress. The woman, with an authoritative presence, was none other than the Empress of the demon clan. At that moment, in a secluded palace within the royal city, 3 subordinates of Luo Fengyuan arrived upon hearing the news. Ensuring there was no one around, Luo Fengyuan transformed back to her true appearance before addressing the 3. How are things progressing? One of them reported. Empress, the tripartite agreement drafted by the Holy Demon Sect, Black Soul Hall, and Eastern Flame Kingdom to divide the fate of the Great Flame Dynasty is still ongoing. The Holy Demon Sect mentioned in the agreement was founded by your 18th royal brother. Thus, it's logical for us to take over the agreement. Luo Fengyuan sighed. My 18th brother was indeed competent. If our parents hadn't instigated a war over the throne, leading the primordial demon kingdom into a decade-long civil war, they wouldn't have died at each other's hands. I had to fight with my siblings for the throne to survive, resulting in the fate becoming unstable. I suspect the agreement was something my 18th brother intended to use after his ascension. Now, with Black Soul Hall severely weakened, they're of limited assistance. Our strategy remains: win over the hearts of the people of the Great Flame Dynasty using resources. Use the resources I've brought to benefit the common folk. Upon hearing this, the 3 subordinates began discussing among themselves. We could simply provide charity. That won't work, another interjected. Given the intangible nature of fate, directly pouring resources isn't effective. Why not invest? The Green Flame Town, where Empress is hiding, is a good example. That's too slow, another countered. Our hidden identities mean we can't easily take action. The high officials of the Great Flame Dynasty, the insiders from Eastern Flame Kingdom within the Great Flame, are the highest-ranking officials. They will sabotage our efforts. It's a pity that Black Soul Hall once secretly sent people to the Great Flame amidst chaos. That was a brilliant idea. That fool named by Qinglian unnecessarily provoked such a formidable enemy. He deserves to die. The 3 kept chattering and discussing, but Luo Fengyuan's mind was filled with images of Xiao Tian and that man named Wu Haobua. How dare he encourage us to provoke the King of Hell? He deserved to have his head burst open by Empress. Unable to stand their incessant chatter, Luo Fengyuan interjected. Enough. You've been arguing for so long without a solution. Tomorrow, head to the royal city to gather more information, and while you're at it, find out more about this Xiao Tian. As she spoke, a mist rose from Luo Fengyuan's hand, gradually taking the shape of Xiao Tian. Recognizing the familiar face, the 3 witches exclaimed in surprise. The supreme benevolent sugar baby deity? Luo Fengyuan was taken aback. What? What deity? The eldest among the 3 witches explained. Empress, this Xiao Tian is the husband of the Great Flame Empress and the current prince. He's an ordinary man with a unique, captivating charm that has bewitched the Great Flame Empress, Ziruoyan. He even foiled the plans of Lu Outyin from the Eastern Flame Kingdom. However, he is indeed a good person. The prosperity of Green Flame Town is in no small part due to him. The nickname Supreme Benevolent Sugar Baby Deity is what the city folk have fondly named him. Hearing this, Luo Fengyuan felt a pang of jealousy. Someone got to him before I did. How can I get him for myself, to support me and give me 5 royal children? She imagined Xiao Tian holding her in his arms in front of the Great Flame Empress. The mere thought made her feel elated. No, if the Great Flame Empress finds out I'm supporting him, he might get worried and scared. But what of it? He has already been supported by the Great Flame Empress. Why can't I? With this realization, Luo Fengyuan suddenly stood up. I've been wrong from the very beginning. The 3 witches looked at her in confusion. Empress, what did you get wrong? With a sweet smile on her face, Luo Fengyuan pointed to Xiao Tian and declared, I want to support him. The 3 witches felt a chill run down their spines. Wait, why are you joining this drama? The revered ruler of the primordial demon kingdom, with the noble blood of the holy demon clan, wants to support an ordinary human man? Empress, are you joking with us? Luo Fengyuan giggled. Would I joke about such a significant matter in my life? Do you believe in love at first sight? The 3 shook their heads. That's just a made-up thing. But Luo Fengyuan was completely lost in her own world. Coincidentally, I believe in it. The 3 were utterly flabbergasted. Empress, have you chosen to become selectively blind and deaf? You don't know, but this Xiao Tian suits me well. He's exactly my type. Not only is he kind, but he also scolds and punishes me. Oh wow, I can't remember the last time I was disciplined. Don't you think that feeling is wonderful? You need to help me figure out a way to get him. This courtyard will do as our wedding chamber for our wedding night. You can decorate it while you're at it. The 3 witches felt they had never been so shocked in their lives. Good heavens, Xiao Tian, with his enchanting beauty, has such a terrifying charm. He captivated the Great Flame Empress, who never showed interest in men, and now the Empress, who has always been irritated with men since she was young, is smitten by him. However, at the moment, Xiao Tian looked worried, unable to understand why the female beggar wanted him to support her. It felt so strange. Seeing Xiao Tian unmoving in front of a table full of food, Zhongling sensed something was off. Prince, what's wrong? Lu Yan shook her head. I'm not sure. He's been like this since you went to deliver food to General Zhong. I don't know what he's thinking. Fortunately, at that moment, Zhong Zhong Yanming approached with a dish, smiling. Done. The final 5-colored pagoda dish is ready. Drawn in by the aroma, Xiao Tian turned his attention to the dish. With a confident expression, Zhong Yanming introduced, Prince, this new dish is crafted from the now famous Green Flame Mountain specialties: green flame pork, green flame lamb, green flame chicken, green flame duck, and green flame fish. The 5 colors are derived from 5 different colored, aromatic mystical herbs which are used as a coating. The meat is first fried, then steamed, and fried again. Xiao Tian leaned in to take a sniff, and instantly his mouth started watering. Well, Prince, care to have a taste? Without hesitation, Xiao Tian picked up a piece of meat from the top and popped it into his mouth. As he relished the flavor dancing on his taste buds, he couldn't help but exclaim, a minister of revenue who doesn't practice martial arts truly makes an excellent chef. With such delicious food, why was I even sulking? Immediately, he began to devour the food, returning to his old self of heartily eating meat and guzzling down drinks. Zhongling and Lu Yan watched, their eyes wide with astonishment. That's the prince we know. Soon after, Xiao Tian let out a satisfied burp. Zhongling stared at him with a puzzled expression. Noticing her gaze, Xiao Tian inquired, is there something you want to say? Zhongling finally spoke up. Prince, what were you brooding over earlier? Holding a cup of hot tea, Xiao Tian responded, if I tell you, you all must promise not to laugh. The trio nodded obediently. Taking a breath, Xiao Tian continued, today, someone asked me to support her. Isn't that strange? Before Xiao Tian could finish, Zhong Yanming burst out laughing, causing Xiao Tian to frown immediately. You promised not to laugh. What are you doing? Zhong Yanming quickly explained, my apologies, Prince. I had some food residue in my mouth and was just trying to spit it out. Please continue. Resuming his story, Xiao Tian recounted his encounter with the female beggar. I already said I'd help her be self-sufficient, but she insisted that I support her. Tell me, have you ever heard of someone so determined to be taken care of by someone else? Lu Yan couldn't hold back anymore and burst out laughing, trying to duck under the table to hide. Xiao Tian, visibly annoyed, asked, what are you doing, hiding your head like that thinking I can't see you? Lu Yan, still under the table, responded with his shoulders heaving, Prince, you've misunderstood. I was just stretching after our martial arts session. Xiao Tian abruptly stood up, thumping his chest with a serious expression. I'm being very serious here. This matter concerns my reputation. Upon hearing this, Zhongling finally broke into laughter. Infuriated, Xiao Tian slapped the table. Darn it, you little brat. I've been patient with you for far too long. Moments later, from the courtyard came the muffled sounds of 3 thuds. The trio stood with bumps on their heads, mentally grumbling, it's clearly the prince's fault. With a title like Supreme Benevolent Sugar Baby Deity, who wouldn't laugh when someone asked him for financial support? Shortly after, Xiao Tian, accompanied by Lu Yan, headed back to the palace. On their way back, Xiao Tian suddenly chuckled. Concerned, Lu Yan quickly asked, what's the matter? Staring ahead, Xiao Tian responded, just reminiscing. It feels so good to be in the light like this. Who said those who dwell in darkness wouldn't yearn for light? Xiao Tian, feeling rather bored, lay down on his bed. Sensing that the system was possibly upgrading, he lamented not being able to watch any shows. Resigned, he picked up a book and decided to read and accompany his rich wife, the Empress, while she worked. Reading the Emperor's Chronicle, he was astonished at the events recorded within. Where did my father-in-law get the spirit stone from the old archive? Did I overlook something? Noticing Xiao Tian's distraction, the Empress turned to ask, what's on your mind? Closing the book, Xiao Tian replied, just thinking. The Empress grinned. Was the meat you brought to the palace last night the famous green flame pork everyone's talking about? Yes, even those vegetables come from Green Flame Mountain. It's a treasure trove. With the right formations, vegetables grow incredibly fast there, though it's costly since they burn spirit stones. The Empress smiled broadly. No wonder even last night's fruits and vegetables tasted exceptional. But someone in the court filed a complaint against you. It's one of Lu Outyan's subordinates, accusing you of inflating market prices and taking advantage of the people. Looking disdainful, Xiao Tian responded, my wife is the Empress. File all the complaints you want. I dare you to bite me. At that moment, the Empress continued, however, your green flame pork really is expensive. The Great Flame Treasure Notes actually lists them at 100,000 taels each. Isn't that too much? If you're short on funds, just ask me. Xiao Tian waved his hand dismissively. It's not simply about the price. It's the principle of scarcity that drives the price up. Raising these pigs isn't easy. I've invested heavily in setting up the formation and feeding them with various rare ingredients. I even had people drive them around to ensure they get enough exercise. Given the unique environment of Green Flame Mountain, the price of the green flame pork is justified. Suddenly animated, Xiao Tian asked, Your Majesty, can you tell me who this imperial historian is? I'd like to have a word with him. The Empress smirked. Are you planning on reasoning with him, or are you planning to bully him again? Xiao Tian immediately protested, raising his hands defensively. Your Majesty, I have no such intentions. The Empress, with a teasing smile, replied, I won't be fooled by you again. Last time, someone from the Ministry of Works accused you of overpricing your liquor. In response, you and Zhongling targeted Lu Shimei, blaming him as the mastermind behind the accusation. This led to him going to the Prime Minister's mansion to apologize, creating quite the commotion. Given the scale of the incident, how do you think we should handle it? Hearing this, Xiao Tian assumed a submissive posture. I am aware of my mistakes, Your Majesty. Please punish me accordingly. Clearing her throat, the Empress playfully said, All right, I will punish you. Really? Seeing Xiao Tian's dejected look, she continued with a smile. Your punishment will be to inspect Green Flame Mountain and select the best pig. And tonight, you'll accompany me for a few drinks. Xiao Tian's face lit up in joy. Rest assured, Your Majesty, I will definitely pick the best one. I knew my wife wouldn't really punish me. I must select the best pig to accompany our drinks tonight. But then, a sudden realization hit him. Wait a minute, Green Flame Pig? Xiao Tian suddenly began to daydream. Luo Fengyuan was hugging a pig, muttering to himself, You, Prince, I'd rather steal your pig, you fool. Looking for financial support from you? It's more worthwhile to just steal your pig. Xiao Tian cursed inwardly. I shouldn't have been so soft-hearted. Now, with the Green Flame pigs being so valuable, stealing one would mean living without worries. Stealing two would mean living comfortably for half a lifetime, and stealing a few more would mean immense wealth. Relying on the infamous sugar baby prince for financial support? She's definitely trying to deceive me. She just wants to steal my pigs. Seeing Xiao Tian's distraught expression, the Empress asked worriedly, What's wrong? Without a word, Xiao Tian flung open the door and ran out, shouting back, Wait, my dear, someone's trying to steal my pigs. The Empress was left dumbfounded. Stealing pigs? Seriously? While Luo Fengyuan was discussing with his subordinates, Xiao Tian burst into the room. The Empress was taken aback. Why did he suddenly appear? I'm not prepared yet, and I wonder how he feels about the outfit I'm wearing now. Will he dislike it? Xiao Tian, on the other hand, was staring at Luo Fengyuan's extravagant appearance, lost in thought. He assumed that in just one night, Luo Fengyuan had sold all the pigs and used the money to buy such fancy clothes. Both Luo Fengyuan and his subordinates were puzzled. Can't he tell we're from the demon clan? With gritted teeth, Xiao Tian angrily exclaimed, I thought life must have been tough for you, being a female beggar and all. I didn't expect you to repay my trust like this. You sold all the pigs? Luo Fengyuan stared blankly at him for a moment, realizing he was mistaken about the stolen pigs, but she couldn't help but think, he looks so handsome when he's angry. Smiling, Luo Fengyuan explained, Why would I? Regular livestock only fetches a small price. This concubine doesn't even bother with such. Hearing this, Xiao Tian became even more infuriated. Only worth a small price? Xiao Tian swiftly pulled out an object from his storage ring, an abacus. Look here, he said, beginning to calculate rapidly. In the Imperial City, a green flame pig costs 100,000 Great Flame Treasure Notes, equivalent to 100 Spirit Stones. Selling all the green flame pigs on this mountain would fetch at least tens of thousands of Spirit Stones. Luo Fengyuan smiled faintly. Tens of thousands of Spirit Stones are just a drop in the bucket for this concubine. She motioned to one of her attendants, the eldest, bring out the gift. On command, a woman behind her nodded. The next second, a large box filled with dazzling Spirit Stones was placed in front of Xiao Tian. The woman explained, the Great Flame Dynasty mainly uses low-grade Spirit Stones. What you see here are 1,000 medium-grade Spirit Stones, compressed from spiritual energy, equivalent to 1 million low-grade Spirit Stones. We offer them to you. Xiao Tian was left flabbergasted. What's going on? She was a beggar just yesterday. How is she now exuding an aura of immense wealth? He scrutinized Luo Fengyuan and her entourage. Is this really the female beggar from yesterday? The bust size seems similar, but in this world, there are countless ways to impersonate someone. I can't just rely on that alone to identify her. I need to be sure. What if they're trying to harm me? Suddenly, an idea popped into his head. Xiao Tian leaned in, demanding, Have you been deceiving me this whole time? Did you find amusement in exploiting my kindness? Luo Fengyuan was taken aback by his sudden confrontation, but before she could answer, Xiao Tian's hand swiftly chopped her head, akin to the gesture he made previously. True to form, Luo Fengyuan once again revealed an expression of pleasure, saying, There were reasons for my actions. This concubine had no other choice. Xiao Tian was momentarily speechless. It was indeed her. After gathering his thoughts, he finally managed to ask, How did this transformation happen? Just yesterday you were a beggar, and now you're suddenly wealthy? What's going on? Hearing this, Luo Fengyuan grabbed Xiao Tian's arm and led him to a stone bench. She began, This concubine's surname is Luo Fengyuan. I belong to the demon clan. If there's nothing else, I should take my leave. However, Luo Fengyuan quickly grasped his hand. There's an urgent matter. I am the eldest princess of Abyssal Ink Kingdom. Our nation faced a great calamity, and my father ordered me to safeguard the royal treasury and seek refuge in foreign lands. I possess limited powers. To restore our kingdom, I need to practice an ancestral technique which requires a male partner. Our encounter yesterday was a test. I need a husband to trust and join me in our mission of restoration. Now, you are the one I've been searching for. Xiao Tian was dumbfounded. Does every citizen in Great Flame possess prophetic powers? Have I truly become the sugar baby deity? How is it that by randomly helping a beggar, I get offered riches and affection? He felt conflicted. No, I can't become like this. He told Luo Fengyuan, I am the rightful prince, officially wedded to the current Great Flame Empress. I cannot serve two women. It wouldn't be fair to either Ziruan or you. Moreover, money doesn't solve everything. The Great Flame Empress is wealthier than you. Has she ever flaunted it? No. Also, I, Xiao Tian, am not a greedy person. Please take back these spirit stones. Use them as capital for restoring your nation. It's not wise to waste them. At his refusal, Luo Fenyuan's infatuation flared. What's there to waste? I am much wealthier than that Great Flame Empress. These few spirit stones are nothing. Xiao Tian, trying to remain patient, responded, as a princess of a fallen kingdom, even if you possess its treasury, it's still the treasury of a fallen kingdom. How wealthy can it be? You might not know, but if we calculate based on the value of these mid-grade spirit stones, the private treasury of the Great Flame Empress would be at least 100 million, Xiao Tian stated. Before his words could settle, Luo Fenyuan opened her secret vault. It was filled to the brim with spirit stones. She responded, yet, if we were to evaluate the wealth within this concubine's vault in terms of mid-grade spirit stones, it's several hundred billion. Hearing this, Xiao Tian felt a shiver down his spine. Damn, she has outdone herself. It's outrageous. This vault, big as it is, seems more formidable than even my father-in-law's old treasury, not to mention the dazzling spirit stones inside. It does make sense. If she wasn't this affluent, her cup size probably won't grow that big. Turning his head, Xiao Tian addressed Luo Fenyuan. Although you are far wealthier than Ziruan, as I said earlier, money can't solve everything. I'm quite comfortable and happy in Great Flame. So, as he spoke, Xiao Tian suddenly raised his hand, looking like he was about to strike. Luo Fenyuan instantly adopted a hopeful, smitten look. However, the next moment, he halted his hand and explained with a laugh. So, you're just too late. And by the way, don't be so naive in the future. Who displays their entire wealth like that? Hearing Xiao Tian's mildly concerned words, Luo Fenyuan felt completely captivated. She covered her flushed cheeks and said sentimentally, this concubine feels even more attracted to you now. Even if rejected 3,000 times, this concubine will not give up. Speechless, Xiao Tian thought, oh no, I forgot about this newly awakened trait of hers. Luo Fenyuan giggled behind her hand before reassuringly adding, this concubine won't make it too hard for brother Xiao. Why don't we spend some time together? Just be normal friends, okay? What do you mean by normal friends? Just normal friends, chatting, talking, regular interactions, but it might take up some of your time. So, how about this concubine gives you 1,000,000 spirit stones every month as compensation for our chats? What do you say? Xiao Tian was left astounded. 1,000,000 spirit stones? My goodness, she truly is a wealthy woman. She's spending lavishly, but no, I can't be corrupted by money. That's the capital you need for reclaiming your kingdom. How can you just give it to me? It's not right. Luo Fenyuan pondered for a moment. Brother Xiao, you love doing good deeds, helping the people of the Great Flame Dynasty, right? But in such a vast kingdom, can you really help everyone? Hearing this, Xiao Tian became a bit agitated. What do you mean? Are you trying to tell me how to do my job? Hearing his response, Luo Fenyuan's quirky side flared up again. Oh, how dare I? It's just a small suggestion. With these 1,000,000 spirit stones, you can assist more citizens of Great Flame. As their lives improve and the nation strengthens, they can also help our Abyssal Ink Kingdom reclaim its throne. Plus, you've always advised this concubine to be virtuous. Isn't this a great opportunity? Please, for the people of Great Flame, accept this. Listening to her, Xiao Tian fell silent. Just for chatting, he could receive 1,000,000 stones as charity funds. Talking isn't as demanding as fighting or killing. He's often idle anyway. Just a bit of talk to benefit the Great Flame Dynasty and repay Empress Ziruan seemed okay. He'd make a small sacrifice. With that thought, Xiao Tian picked up the box and said, I accept this on behalf of the people of Great Flame. Seeing him agree, Luo Fenyuan excitedly grabbed his arm. So, brother Xiao, can you chat with this concubine now? Is that okay? Wait, don't cling to me like that. It's too tight and uncomfortable. We agreed to just chat. Why are you getting all touchy? Are you trying to take advantage of me? No, this is too much of a loss. Unless, Luo Fenyuan paused. Unless what? Xiao Tian, with an air of righteousness, declared, you'll have to pay more. Shortly after Xiao Tian left, Demon Clan Empress Luo Fenyuan, looking despondent, leaned against a table. Suddenly, she murmured, it's only been a minute since brother Xiao left, and I already miss him. Her subordinates were left speechless. They thought, our Empress is beyond hope now. Just then, two figures uninvitedly appeared in the courtyard. It was none other than the Prime Minister of Great Flame, Lu Outyin, and his son, Lu Shimei. Lu Outyin slowly began, are you the new leader of the Holy Demon Sect? Luo Fenyuan remained silent. Lu Shimei, on the other hand, eyed her captivating form lasciviously. What a stunningly seductive woman. Not just her face, but her figure is outrageously splendid. Suddenly, there was a soft thud. Lu Shimei instantly fell to his knees, covering his bleeding eyes, crying out in pain. The attacker was Luo Fenyuan. With a face full of disdain, she declared, such a nauseating gaze. How dare you look at me that way? The eldest, Empress commanded emotionlessly, crush this disgusting bug for me. On her command, the eldest zoomed towards Lu Shimei, an overwhelming power emanating from him. Seeing this, Lu Outyin hastily stood in front of his son. Holy Demon Sect leader, what do you think you're doing? The eldest, without replying, directly stomped down. Lu Outyin gritted his teeth, raising his hand in defense. As their powers collided, thunder and lightning echoed above. Luo Outyin was evidently weaker, being pushed back by several meters. He shouted at Luo Fengyuan, new leader of the sect, "Are you trying to breach the tripartite agreement?" Luo Fengyuan silently scoffed in her mind. "Who do you think you are?" The eldest continued his onslaught. As Luo Outyin tried to fend him off, he shouted, "What exactly do you want, leader of the holy demon sect? The primordial embryo is about to mature. 100 years of planning is at stake right now. Do you wish to see it all go to waste at the last moment?" Hearing this, Luo Fengyuan finally commanded, "The eldest." Immediately, the eldest halted his attack and stood behind Luo Fengyuan. Luo Outyin, frantic, examined his son's injuries and thought, "This woman has gone mad. What does she want?" Luo Fengyuan retorted, "What do you intend by barging in uninvited? I heard that people from the holy demon sect have arrived in great flame. I just wanted to meet." Luo Outyin replied. The second and the third both sneered. "Meet?" The third added, "Didn't anyone teach you to knock before entering? Your son is ill-mannered, staring blatantly at our leader. Who does he think he is? Is he worthy?" Luo Outyin was furious but knew he had to calm down and resolve the situation. Acting impulsively might ruin bigger plans. He then respectfully said, "What can I do to make amends? Please be clear." Luo Fengyuan pondered for a moment. "If you want this matter settled, it's simple. The legitimate prince of your empress, Xiao Tian, has caught my eye. Whenever you meet him, you must greet him respectfully, not make things difficult for him, and assist him in every way. If anything happens to him, I won't hesitate to turn against the Eastern Flame Kingdom and Astral Pavilion. I won't play along anymore." With that said, Luo Fengyuan suddenly released an overpowering aura, forcing Luo Outyin to step back several paces. What shocked Luo Outyin the most, however, was her demand. He thought, "What on earth? This overbearing new leader of the holy demon sect, what is she saying? To save my son's life and resolve this matter, I must look out for that pretty boy." Prime Minister Luo Outyin was completely taken aback. He couldn't help but mentally complain, "Xiao Tian, how blind was I? You're not just any ordinary person. You're a charming man who can turn the world upside down." Admittedly, he is quite handsome and has an indescribable charisma that makes people feel attracted and close to him. Wait, Luo Outyin's face turned red as he realized his own thoughts. He slapped himself hard. What dangerous thoughts am I having? Charming man indeed. Demon Clan Empress Luo Fengyuan shot him a stern glance. "Have you made up your mind? Playing the victim won't work on me." Luo Outyin hurriedly agreed. Yet Luo Fengyuan looked down at him, intimidatingly saying, "Remember not to expose me. If the Xiao Tian I've got my eyes on gets away because of you, you know the consequences. Now, get out." Hearing her command, Luo Outyin swiftly carried his blind son and leapt away, seething with anger. This was the most humiliating experience he'd had since he became the Prime Minister of Great Flame. Moreover, he'd now have to greet Xiao Tian with a smile. Back at the Prime Minister's mansion, Luo Outyin was livid. "It's all your fault. You almost ruined years of planning." He furiously threw his son onto the ground. "If I had the time, I'd rather strangle you and have another child." Lu Shimei harbored his own resentment. "It's because of your incompetence that my eyes are now damaged. Sooner or later, I'll kill you, old man." Elsewhere, Luo Fengyuan was daydreaming. She imagined that once Xiao Tian found out about all the things she did for him behind the scenes, he'd abandon Ziruoyan and rush into her arms. Smiling to herself, she muttered, "When that day comes, I might even allow Ziruoyan to be a concubine." Naughty. The eldest looked at the daydreaming Empress and sighed, thinking, "There's truly no hope for the Empress. She's completely lost it." Meanwhile, inside the royal palace's sleeping chambers, Xiao Tian lay on his bed, sighing out of boredom. "I wonder when the puppy system will finish its upgrade. I'm not used to sleeping without its sleep mode." Coincidentally, a system notification came in. "Respected master, system upgrade has been completed." Xiao Tian blinked in surprise. "Finally, you're back." "Yes, master. Sorry for the wait." Shortly after, Xiao Tian's body slowly lifted off the ground, and in the next moment, he found himself inside the system space. A soft, delicate voice greeted him. "Master, how may I assist you?" Xiao Tian was taken aback, for before him stood a young, vibrant, and adorable girl. He stared in astonishment. "Are you puppy?" The girl nodded. "Yes, master. How did you turn into this?" Puppy then explained, "I am your servant, residing within you. Over time, I evolved and upgraded, revealing this form. You can understand this as my true appearance. As for my attire, it was formed based on your preferences, which I discerned from your data when the sleep mode was active. I chose this look to please you." Xiao Tian hurriedly defended himself. "What nonsense are you talking about? How could these be my preferences?" Puppy just smiled, her silence speaking volumes. Seeing this, Xiao Tian turned away. "Never mind. I just want to sleep. Remember to activate the sleep mode." Hearing this, Puppy nodded in agreement. With a wave of her hand, an interface appeared before her. She began operating it. "And one more thing, switch from white stockings to black ones." "I prefer black." "And you said you summarized my preferences." "Clearly, you got it wrong." Puppy chuckled softly. "As you wish, master. Everything will be as you desire." Puppy promptly summoned an interface that read, "Sleep mode activated. Protecting master's spirit. Blocking memory nightmares. Memory protection field. Using master's power. Energy at 100%. As soon as the words faded, a barrier quickly arose. After it was set, Puppy looked adoringly at the sleeping Xiao Tian and whispered, "Sweet dreams. Memories falling like meteorites were entirely blocked by the force field. Suddenly, a thought struck Puppy. Are those memories which trouble Master's dreams his memories from Earth? Puppy directly accessed the interface to delve into those memories Xiao Tian didn't wish to recall. The scene displayed a massive training base. A young Xiao Tian was seen participating in a competition with his dog. Soon, the leader announced the results. Luo Tian, 9 years old, 27th place. Shou Tian, 10 years old, 8th place. Xiao Tian, 6 years old, 1st place. Despite clinching the top spot, Xiao Tian seemed indifferent, focusing solely on the puppy beside him. The leader, who was also Xiao Tian's adoptive father, approached and ruffled his hair, asking if there was any reward he desired. Xiao Tian shook his head, expressing he wanted nothing. The leader then turned to the puppy. I heard you train this dog yourself. Very well done. Xiao Tian finally smiled. He's very obedient and smart. With hard training, he can always be number one. The leader patted the dog, noticing the bond between them. I've never heard you talk this much about anything before. What's his name? Xiao Tian replied with a soft smile. His name is Puppy, my companion. At these words, the spirited puppy immediately jumped into his embrace. Watching the harmonious scene, the leader's expression turned solemn. Even though you're young, I think it's time for your first task. Xiao Tian immediately stood at attention, awaiting his orders. To his surprise, the leader handed him a gun. Pointing at his beloved white dog, he coldly ordered, kill it. The memory shattered abruptly at this point, leaving the ending unknown. After witnessing these events, System Puppy seemed lost in thought. After a moment, she knelt beside the sleeping Xiao Tian, gently placing his head on her lap. Looking down at him, she softly murmured, Honored Master, I truly cherish this name. On this bright morning, Xiao Tian yawned as he prepared to attend the morning court. He was irritated at the thought of joining the ministers in the main hall to discuss proposals, especially the one about building a welfare institution. He had to wait for Empress Zi Ruoyan's approval. If it weren't for the primary sponsor's insistence, he wouldn't have wanted to come at all. That sponsor was the Demon Clan Empress, whom Xiao Tian had only recently met. She gave him 3 million spirit stones every month just for chatting with her. These were to be used to raise his reputation in great flame. At this moment, Zhong Yangming and Zhong Lisuang greeted Xiao Tian. Ahead, Lu Outyin turned towards Xiao Tian and greeted, Greetings, Prince. Did you not rest well last night? I have a calming incense at home which helps with sleep. After the court session, I'll send some to you. Everyone, including the surrounding officials, was stunned. Even Xiao Tian couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. He pointed at Lu Outyin and accused, What are you up to? Poisoning the incense to harm me? Offering favors without reason? He's either deceiving or stealing. Maybe I should just get rid of him. Too many witnesses here. It's not the right time. But wait, Lu Outyin is essential for great flame. Killing him would be problematic for the empire. And how would the Empress sustain herself? Xiao Tian took a deep breath, forcing himself to calm down. Meanwhile, Lu Outyin was flabbergasted, wondering, what did I do? Why would I try to please you if it weren't for that crazy woman? Did Xiao Tian really want to kill me? A mere mortal like him, trying to kill me? Who gave him such courage? I need to stay calm. Thinking this, Lu Outyin laughed and explained, Prince, you misunderstood. I was just thinking of the nation's greater good. He suddenly gave Xiao Tian a thumbs up. The recent deeds you've done have shown me the kind of person you are. The title Supreme Benevolent Sugar Baby Deity truly suits you. Xiao Tian felt his scalp tingle, thinking, how could you mention that name in front of such a large crowd? He turned his head and sure enough, the surrounding officials were covering their mouths, trying to hide their snickers. Damn it. Soon after the morning session ended and the officials departed, the Empress approached Xiao Tian. What's with Lu Outyin's sudden support for you? Have you really not done anything recently? The Empress was puzzled. Could it be that the Prime Minister genuinely values the Great Flame Dynasty and has a changed perspective after observing Xiao Tian's recent actions? With a disdainful expression, Xiao Tian responded, I'm just as confused. After waking up, I noticed Lu Outyin's attitude changed drastically. Did you not see how brightly he smiled at me before the meeting? Zhong Yangming was also baffled by Lu Outyin's abnormal behavior, adding, and Lu Shimei suddenly fell ill at home. I wonder if there's any connection. Zhong Lisuang seemed indifferent. Regardless, we'll face any challenges as they come. Hearing this, Xiao Tian sighed in resignation, but a moment later, he remembered something crucial. I need to leave now. I'll come back in the afternoon to accompany you in the Imperial study, he said to the Empress as he rushed out. Zhong Yangming quickly called out, Prince, where are you going? What do you want for lunch? Without turning back, Xiao Tian replied, I'm going to make money. I won't be back for lunch. Hearing this, both Zhong Yangming and his wife were utterly confused. What kind of urgent business required him to earn money? The Empress was also puzzled. Had she been giving him too little pocket money recently? He did plan on opening a welfare institution for charity, which must have depleted his funds quickly. Perhaps she should find an excuse to increase his allowance. That night, Xiao Tian was writing in his diary, documenting his experiences in the alternate world. Clear skies. September 15th. The breakfast in the palace remains, as usual, inedible. In the morning, I visited Luo Fengyuan. She insisted on bathing in the hot springs. She also suggested increasing the meal allowance for the welfare institution and even took action on it. I had no choice. Making a sacrifice for a good cause cause is not shameful. While there, Luo Fengyuan cheerfully asked if I would catch a cold bathing fully clothed. But in the next moment, she looked surprised and covered her mouth. I had a nosebleed. It must be this overly warm and cloudy spring water. Great Flame Log. Hot autumn day, September 16th. On my way out of the city, I bumped into Luo Outyin. He kept smiling, spoke softly, and had a strange look in his eyes. I felt uneasy around him, thinking there might be something off about this man. Tonight, I'll need to activate my closed senses to secretly listen if he's plotting anything. Later, when I reached Luo Fengyuan's residence, she told me she had twisted her ankle. It's painful. Can you massage it for me? I can give you a tip. I frowned, thinking, how dare she think a mere tip would get me to massage her foot. However, in the afternoon when I handed over 5 million spirit stones to Zhong Yangming, he kept asking where I got the money from. It was annoying. Just use it. I earned it through labor. I thought, he's going to get extra training tonight for all his questions. Great Flame Log. Light rain, autumn, September 17th. I didn't sleep well last night. Keeping my senses closed seems better, as the external noise is too distracting. Late at night, I often hear unsettling noises, especially from that old lecher Luo Outyin. Even at his age, he wants a son. Doesn't he fear his son, Lu Shimei, might disapprove? Today, Luo Fengyuan was a bit too forward. She asked me to accompany her to her room. Naturally, I refused. However, she kept calling me big brother and poking my face. I felt I should teach her a lesson and not let her become too unrestrained, but I think I fell for her trap. She seemed even happier than I was. Darn it, she probably wanted me to scold her. Thankfully, she compensated me for my emotional distress, which I handed over to Zhong Yangming in the afternoon. Zhong Yangming wants to expand the academy to cover the entire Great Flame. Impressive. It's a good idea. Fortunately, Zhong Yangming didn't pester me with questions this time. He just kept mumbling about some decoction of 10 tonics and mentioned getting some ingredients from the seaside. I'm relieved. Why should a chef have so many queries? Just focus on cooking. Another issue. Ziruoyan seems very vexed by the court affairs. She got drunk at the prince's residence last night. I had no choice but to let her stay and rest. Sigh. I shouldn't let her drink anymore. Alcohol causes trouble. Great Flame Log. September 18th. Clear day. When I woke up today, I found myself drooling, and Ziruoyan, who woke up before me, caught me red-handed. Such bad luck. For some reason, Luo Fengyuan overreacted tremendously. She started kicking the wall, shouting, "So what if you're great?" Sneakily taking advantage of others when they're not alert. Thinking you can benefit because someone else is not too sharp? What a lame excuse. You can't be the only one to kiss. I only shared the drooling incident with Luo Fengyuan. Why did she react so strongly? It's as if she's the one who's embarrassed, not me. Later, she even tried to sneak a kiss from me. If it weren't for her terrifying expression, like she wanted to devour me, which scared me into freezing on the spot, she wouldn't have succeeded. I expressed my discontent, saying it was my first kiss. She disrespected me. Yet, she got even angrier and demanded that I carry her around Green Flame Mountain to make amends. Thinking it would be a good opportunity to check on my pigs, I agreed. Arriving at the pig farm, I was astounded. Just a few days apart, and the size of the Green Flame pigs had doubled. I had to look up to see them. The free-ranging Green Flame chickens were also as tall as a person. They could peck open rocks to find food. It seems Green Flame Mountain truly is a geomantic treasure. Since it's so vast, I'm considering raising other things there as well. However, Luo Fengyuan was strange. She had a serious look and kept glancing around. Those glimmers, could they be some sort of treasure? Very odd. While the history of the Great Flame Dynasty has seen many challenges and adversities, it has always reaped significant gains after each ordeal. Where can I even begin to understand all this? However, I drooled again in my sleep today. My mouth tasted sweet. Fortunately, Ziruoyan didn't notice. She was busy reviewing official documents. She must be so exhausted. When I woke up, I felt a bit hungry. Sadly, the preserved fruit was too sweet. The palace chefs are really lacking. Even if Zhong Yangming were to cook with his eyes closed, it would still taste better than this. At night, Xiao Tian was reading, pondering, why is the Great Flame Dynasty so peculiar? The barbarian kingdom attacks Great Flame, yet it leads to an expansion of Great Flame's territory. The assassins from the Blood Cloud Tower who die every time their operation is executed. Their storage rings are terrifyingly rich with resources. The Black Soul Hall and Land of Dark Souls, whenever chaos ensues, causes a massive influx of refugees to the southern borders. Aren't these labor resources? Whatever, I'm tired. Just as Xiao Tian decided to rest, he suddenly saw Ziruoyan staggering towards him with a pot of wine in hand. Xiao Tian quickly moved to support her, saying, "Your Majesty, why do you drink when you can't handle alcohol?" Ziruoyan, with a dreamy look in her eyes, replied, "In the days to come, I feel the need to drink. It's good to have you by my side to practice my tolerance. Besides, some things are easier to do when drunk, right?" Now, Demon Clan Empress Luo Fengyuan brought over another large box of spirit stones. Xiao Tian was dumbstruck. He estimated there were roughly 100 mid-grade spirit stones inside, equivalent to 100,000 low-grade spirit stones. How enviable. Money truly is wonderful. Pointing at the spirit stones, he asked Luo Fengyuan, "What's the meaning of this?" Luo Fengyuan, her face filled with excitement, said, "This concubine doesn't just want to chat today. I want you to accompany me for a walk in the mountains, hand in hand, chatting while enjoying the scenic beauty." Xiao Tian immediately slammed the box shut, rebuking her with a stern face. "Nonsense. Didn't you hear a word I said yesterday?" However, Luo Fengyuan responded, "Brother Xiao, everything you do is for the people of the Great Flame Dynasty." Thinking of the orphanage, Xiao Tian had no choice but to agree. "Alright, tell me, do you want to hold my left hand or my right hand? And let's make it clear, we can only hold hands, no hugging. Otherwise, I'll be so uncomfortable." Luo Fengyuan blushed, her tone very sweet. "Oh, stop teasing. This concubine didn't mean to make you uncomfortable on purpose." Soon after, the two were walking hand in hand in the woods. "Just so you know," Xiao Tian began, "after lunch, I have to go back and be with the Empress." "Why be with her? Can't you stay a bit longer? What are you doing? Teaching me how to do things?" Luo Fengyuan responded playfully. "Oh my, how would this concubine dare?" Meanwhile, in a certain valley, Zhou Tianji of the Astral Pavilion was observing. "What do you see?" In the valley was something that looked exactly like Empress Ziruan. Zhou Tianji slowly said, "From the surface, the maturation time of the primordial embryo seems to have advanced." "How is that possible?" "The primordial embryo is born in accordance with the heavens and the earth. Its maturation time is set in stone. It can't change, not even by a minute." The person speaking was Great Flame's Prime Minister, Lu Outyin. But Zhou Tianji was someone who could see fate. With a mocking expression, he told Lu Outyin, "You can't see fate. What do you know?" Lu Outyin was instantly furious. "Zhou Tianji, can't you speak nicely? Hit me then?" Zhou Tianji taunted. "Sure, you're much stronger than me, but we all have our realms sealed. Who's afraid of whom?" Zhou Tianji's arrogant demeanor infuriated Lu Outyin, who could only chant to himself, "Keep the big picture in mind." Zhou Tianji continued, "Of course, if you unseal your realm and beat me up, I'll accept it. But do you dare?" Upon hearing this, Lu Outyin didn't argue further. "I will discuss this matter with your astral pavilion to ascertain the truth." Zhou Tianji seemed indifferent. "Going to complain? Go ahead. Regardless of who comes from the astral pavilion, the result will be the same. The development time of the primordial embryo and the time when Empress Ziruan increased her cultivation are set in stone. But the issue is, during that time in the northern border, Ziruan managed to break through and even increased her aptitude. This caused the timeline to advance by a year." Zhou Tianji was puzzled. "It's really strange. Her bloodline and physique are already top-notch. How could she possibly improve further? And that king of hell, which realm did this foolish youngster come from? Making a mess and claiming Great Flame as his." "Nonsense." Suddenly, a female voice intervened. "What impact will this advancement have?" Zhou Tianji initially thought she was the sect master of the Holy Demon sect. Lu Outyin glanced at her. "No, she is the eldest, a servant by the sect master's side." Zhou Tianji said with some dissatisfaction, "This matter is not a trivial one. If your sect master is around, why isn't she here? Is there something more important than the early emergence of the primordial embryo?" The eldest responded nonchalantly, "The sect master has an important guest and is naturally unavailable. It's enough for me to handle this matter." Lu Outyin thought to himself, "Important guest? That madwoman is just entertaining a young pretty boy. What's wrong with her brain? Valuing an ordinary Xiao Tian over the primordial embryo?" The three then turned their attention back to the primordial embryo. Zhou Tianji explained, "Whether it's good or bad, our astral pavilion has never encountered such a thing. We don't know if the primordial embryo will continue to mature at this accelerated pace or return to its normal speed. It's unfortunate for these people. They might live shorter lives now. Alright, we've seen enough. You can stay here and enjoy yourselves. I'm leaving." With that, Zhou Tianji turned into a streak of golden light and flew away swiftly. The eldest handed Lu Outyin a bottle of antidote. "You've been performing well lately. The sect master is quite pleased. Your son's eye condition isn't healing because he's been poisoned. Take this pill and he'll be fine. Oh, and act a bit more natural." Prince Xiao mentioned to the sect master more than once that your recent laughter resembles that of a creepy old man, and it makes him uncomfortable. Before Lu Outyin could retort, the eldest quickly flew away, leaving him alone, yelling in frustration, "I laugh like a creepy old man? Xiao Tian, you!" 10,000 words omitted for brevity. Meanwhile, Xiao Tian, with a physique akin to a deity, suddenly sneezed. Rubbing his nose, he thought, "This doesn't make sense. I don't catch colds. Is someone cursing me?" Luo Fengyuan seized the opportunity to advise, "It must be because you're soaking in the hot spring with your clothes on. Once the wet cloth gets a breeze, you'll feel cold. Listen to this concubine and take off your clothes." Xiao Tian immediately refused. "You offer the price, and I'll provide the service. You can't take advantage of me. Moreover, if I remove my clothes and someone sees, it'd be hard to explain." Just then, the warm hot spring water suddenly turned to ice. Xiao Tian was taken aback. "Strange, why does the water feel colder and colder?" Luo Fengyuan's eyebrows raised, sensing danger. She grabbed Xiao Tian by his hair and pulled him out of the water, then laughingly addressed someone not far off. "Oh dear, after all, he's your husband. Aren't you afraid of freezing him to death?" Following her gaze, Xiao Tian realized that the newcomer was none other than his Empress wife, Ziruan. Holding a long sword, with an enraged expression, she shouted, "Zhongling, Lu Yan, watch the prince closely. angrily. I'm going to kill someone today. Luo Fengyuan seemed completely unfazed, even taunting with a smirk. Your Majesty Z, such a fiery temper. But do you have the capability? Z Ruoyan remained expressionless, her body radiating immense spiritual power. Whether I do or not, let's find out. No sooner had she spoken than Z Ruoyan made the first move, charging fiercely at Luo Fengyuan. The two collided, sending a cloud of dust billowing from the ground. Feeling no pressure whatsoever, Luo Fengyuan provocatively said, "Is that all you've got?" With that, she lunged forward, aiming a fierce kick at Z Ruoyan, who effortlessly blocked it. "You're not that impressive either," she retorted. Such envy between women. As physical combat proved inconclusive, the two started harnessing their spiritual power. Zhongling and the others watched from a distance, occasionally having to fend off the aftermath of their fierce exchanges. Turning to Xiao Tian, they commented, "Prince, seems like you've stirred up trouble. If Her Majesty wants to punish you later, please show some restraint." Xiao Tian was speechless, thinking, "I just wanted to make a little extra money. How did things get to this point? Nothing's ever easy." As it turned out, Empress Z Ruoyan, having some free time, had visited Green Flame Mountain for a leisurely stroll with Zhongling and Lu Yen. Zhongling suddenly remarked, "Your Majesty, just ahead is the Green Flame Mountain's hot spring. It's secluded and has excellent water quality. You could relax a bit since there's no morning court session today." "Thank you, General Lu." But then, Z Ruoyan paused, thinking she heard Xiao Tian's voice. She asked the other two if they had heard anything. The pair exchanged puzzled glances. Didn't the prince say he was going to make some money? Upon hearing this, Z Ruoyan waved dismissively. It must have been my imagination. However, as they neared the hot spring, they saw Xiao Tian and the Demon Clan Empress, Luo Fengyuan, soaking in the waters. Luo Fengyuan appeared to be making advances, while Xiao Tian held his chest defensively, looking utterly reluctant. Enraged, Z Ruoyan exclaimed, "Who is this audacious woman, daring to steal my man?" Consequently, a fierce battle between the two empresses ensued. Zhongling and the others watched the drama unfold with a mix of amusement and resignation. She turned to Xiao Tian and asked, "Didn't you say you were here to make money this morning? Why are you now in the hot springs with someone else?" Sighing, Xiao Tian replied, "I really was here to make money. Where do you think the money I gave to Zhong Yangming came from? It all began a few days ago when I mentioned someone wanting to provide for me." Before he could finish, both Zhongling and Lu Yen burst into laughter. Baffled, Xiao Tian asked, "What's so funny?" "I've been working seriously to earn money." Between fits of laughter, Zhongling managed to say, "No, it's just thinking of something amusing." "Lu Yen, do you think Her Majesty can win?" Suppressing her giggles, Lu Yen replied, "Hard to say, but is this what the supreme benevolent sugar baby deity has to deal with?" Xiao Tian, feeling misunderstood, spread his arms and said, "I earn money for good deeds, contributing to the Great Flame. Why are you laughing like this?" As Lu Yen wiped away her tears of mirth, she added, "Prince, you truly work hard to earn money. You're so selfless. We admire you." This only set off another round of giggles from Zhongling. Meanwhile, the standoff between Z Ruoyan and Luo Fengyuan continued. Luo Fengyuan taunted with a sneer, "Not bad in strength. It's good to stretch your muscles once in a while. But today, it seems you won't be killing anyone." Z Ruoyan snapped back, "I thought you were just a lowly mistress sneaking around. Turns out you've got some skills. However, Xiao Tian is mine. I suggest you quit these futile fantasies. Though, since I'm often busy, if you'd like to serve us, fetch tea, and attend to my husband and me, I might consider keeping you around." Luo Fengyuan chuckled, "Calling me a lowly mistress? Oh, this concubine isn't like you, kissing someone stealthily and then lying that it was just drool from sleeping, pretending to be so virtuous." Hearing this, Xiao Tian turned to Z Ruoyan in shock. "She kissed me?" Zhongling and Lu Yen were both left in shock, their minds going blank. They thought, "Is Her Majesty really this bold?" Z Ruoyan's face turned slightly red as she quickly retorted, "Don't spew nonsense. If I wanted to, I'd just take him by force." Would Xiao Tian dare to protest? "Me, sneaking a kiss? He drools in his sleep anyway." Both Zhongling and Lu Yen looked away, thinking to themselves, "Her Majesty, that's a great explanation. Maybe don't explain next time. Who in their right mind would believe that?" However, to their surprise, Xiao Tian just scratched his head and laughed. "Ah, you scared me there. I knew it couldn't be true." It was then that the two remembered that Prince Xiao Tian wasn't exactly what one would call normal. Luo Fengyuan looked annoyed. "Don't act innocent after taking advantage." "Me, taking advantage? What a joke." Z Ruoyan responded sharply, "Xiao Tian is my husband, wedded in broad daylight. Who are you to comment? If I share a bed with him, do you think you have any right to judge?" Hearing this, Luo Fengyuan was left speechless and enraged. She changed back into her original attire, grabbed her large scythe, and prepared for an intense battle. The massive, dark purple crescent blade came slashing down towards Z Ruoyan. Reacting swiftly, Z Ruoyan conjured an ice shield to block the blow, then raised her sword to counter Luo Fengyuan's scythe. As their weapons clashed, shards from the shattered ice shield scattered, extinguishing many of the surrounding purple flames. Luo Fengyuan smirked, "Even if you've reached the 9th stage and 9th level, you still can't compare to the power of the 10th stage." Z Ruoyan was well aware of the power gap. However, for her beloved Prince Xiao Tian, she was determined to fight, regardless of the odds. Ziruoan unleashed her spiritual power, sending countless ice crystals crashing towards Luo Fengyuan. With just a light tip of her toe, Luo Fengyuan leapt gracefully, avoiding all the incoming attacks. Seeing this, Ziruoan channeled her spiritual power once again, slashing with her sword. The ice crystals, sharp as blades, hurtled towards Luo Fengyuan anew. Yet, Luo Fengyuan began to spin her crescent scythe like a windmill, shattering the icy blade aura, rendering it completely ineffective. Luo Fengyuan jeered, "Is that all you've got? You should leave Xiao Tian's side. You're simply not worthy of him." With that, Luo Fengyuan gathered her strength and swung her scythe with tremendous force. In an instant, a terrifying attack, accompanied by endless purple flames, shot directly towards Ziruoan. Biting down hard on her teeth, Ziruoan used her sword to fiercely block the blow. Though her body was now covered in injuries, the force was overwhelming, sending shockwaves throughout her internal organs. However, she believed that she could withstand it. No one could take him away from her. With that determination, Ziruoan swung her sword once more with all her might, shouting, "I'll show you if I'm worthy or not." Luo Fengyuan grew increasingly irritated, swinging her crescent scythe wildly at Ziruoan. "You're so annoying. Why won't you just admit defeat?" The barrage of fury-infused attacks left Ziruoan's mind reeling, causing her to fall from the sky. As she landed, even the hand holding her sword trembled. Yet, defiance still blazed in her eyes as she locked gazes with Luo Fengyuan. Luo Fengyuan observed Ziruoan carefully. Considering how rapidly Ziruoan's realm had advanced, the spiritual energy within her body had expanded but felt unstable. Perhaps, she could beat Ziruoan up to help refine and purify her spiritual energy, further advancing her realm. This would be a sort of compensation for trying to take Xiao Tian away. After all, someone like Ziruoan shouldn't meet her end here. Luo Fengyuan lifted her long leg, delivering a fierce kick to Ziruoan's chest. Ziruoan was sent flying like a cannonball, crashing into a nearby mountainside with a thunderous impact. Zhongling and Lu Yan's expressions shifted dramatically, and they attempted to rush over to check on her. However, Xiao Tian stopped them both with a firm grip, one hand on each. Zhongling looked at Xiao Tian incredulously. Gone was the usually whimsical demeanor of Xiao Tian. His face was calm and composed. He calmly remarked, "Trust your Empress. She's not the type to just fall or give up easily. After all, she's the stubborn tsundere who, even when exposed in front of others, still adamantly denied everything and clung to me." Hearing this, the two were taken aback. "Prince," Zhongling queried, "you didn't actually believe the Empress's words, did you?" Xiao Tian blinked. "When a man is outside, he should give his woman some face," he said confidently, crossing his arms and watching the scene unfold before him. "Just watch." As expected, Ziruoan, clutching her sword, staggered to her feet. Xiao Tian's gaze was intense. "Your Majesty, don't fall. I have great faith in you." Luo Fengyuan stared at Ziruoan with a puzzled expression. "Why don't you give up? If you continue like this, you'll die." Ziruoan responded with a smile, not of anger but of pity. "In a way, I understand your feelings. But have you ever looked at his back? If you truly pay attention, you'd see that he seems to be in pain and sorrow, not fitting in with the world around him. But this fool, when he faces others, always has that silly smile on his face." Hearing this, Luo Fengyuan turned to glance at Xiao Tian, who stood not far away. Indeed, she remembered the times when she walked behind him on mountain trails. His lonely silhouette was heart-wrenching to behold. But what did that matter in the end? Luo Fengyuan chuckled. "I like it when he scolds me, and then looks at me helplessly, wearing that exasperated smile." Ziruoan seemed to ignore her, continuing in her own world. "That night, I was supposed to." She suddenly paused, as if a mental block had been lifted from her mind. Then, a serene smile graced her face. "That night, as usual, I was preparing to return to the dimly lit and cold hall to rest alone, to face another busy day on my own the next day. But the usually dark hall was lit with warm lights. The once desolate courtyard had a steaming pot, and beside it sat him, gifting me with his brilliant smile." As the Empress spoke, she slowly closed her eyes. A golden spiritual power began to whirl and converge in front of her chest. The radiance intensified, enveloping Ziruoan completely. Anyone watching knew that something monumental was taking place within her. Zhongling, Lu Yan, and Luo Fengyuan stared in astonishment. Only Xiao Tian remained calm, intently observing the transformation. After a moment, the solidified golden light pillar began to shatter, resembling the hatching of an egg. Luo Fengyuan finally came to her senses, her mouth agape, exclaiming in awe, "10th level. She's ascended to the 10th level just like that?" As the golden pillar of light shattered completely, Ziruoan's figure emerged. At this moment, she was fully enveloped in gold, donning a majestic and awe-inspiring set of golden armor. Luo Fengyuan, feeling the pressure of a formidable opponent, began to unleash her magic power in full force, her purple hair fluttering wildly in the gusts. Then, Ziruoan finally opened her eyes, her pupils having transformed into a commanding shade of gold. With her sword in hand, she bellowed, "He is my husband. If you think of taking him away, don't even dream of it." Zhongling couldn't help but shout, "Your Majesty, you're so cool." Lu Yan turned to Xiao Tian and asked, "Prince, you stopped us from stepping in earlier. Did you know this would happen?" Xiao Tian replied with an air of indifference. If you're talking about Luo Fengyuan aiding Zi Ruoyan in her breakthrough, then yes, I was aware. But as for that battle armor, I have no idea. He looked perplexed. What does this golden light have to do with Her Majesty? Is it related to the Great Flame Dynasty? However, hearing Xiao Tian's words, Zhongling appeared reluctant to believe. Are you suggesting that woman helped Her Majesty advance to the next realm? Yes, look closely. Right now, Zi Ruoyan and Luo Fengyuan, one gold and one purple, their powers are evenly matched, contending with one another in perfect balance. Just then, Xiao Tian sensed someone approaching. You all focus on the fight. I'll deal with the hidden lackeys in the shadows. As they watched the two figures clashing ferociously in the air, Zhongling couldn't help but murmur, so powerful. This is not the same level of battle as before. Lu Yan also felt a chill run down her spine. If that woman had used this kind of power against Her Majesty earlier, I fear. Interrupting her, Xiao Tian flexed his wrist and commented, exactly. Luo Fengyuan's combat strength has amplified at least tenfold from earlier. As he spoke, Xiao Tian casually signaled for a handkerchief to be handed to him. Zhongling and Lu Yan, both with a skeptical look, questioned, why would that woman help Her Majesty break through? While wiping his hands, Xiao Tian replied nonchalantly, Zi Ruoyan's ascension was too rapid, her internal spiritual energy expanding and becoming unstable. Luo Fengyuan probably wanted to beat up Zi Ruoyan, kidnap me, and in the process, refine Zi Ruoyan's spiritual energy to enhance her realm as compensation for taking me. Who could have anticipated that not only would Zi Ruoyan advance in rank, but she'd also manifest an armor, boosting her combat capabilities? At that moment, Zhongling noticed something amiss and exclaimed, Prince, why are your hands covered in blood? The handkerchief in Xiao Tian's hand was now thoroughly soaked with fresh blood. It's nothing. This Green Flame mountain range consists of 39 mountains. It seems some individuals were hiding here. The noise from the fight attracted some hidden forces, 27 of them to be precise, all at the 10th tier. Upon hearing this, Lu Yan hesitantly asked, so, Prince, you took action? With a slight nod and a somber expression, Xiao Tian faintly smiled. While you all were engrossed watching Zi Ruoyan and Luo Fengyuan's battle, I swiftly dealt with them on the side. Perhaps due to my bad mood, I didn't choose the cleanest method, hence the messy hands. Zhongling pursed her lips, tightly gripping the beside Lu Yan, who didn't dare to breathe. The Xiao Tian before them at that moment was terrifying. Just then, the system puppy suddenly alerted, Master, please calm down. You are not in the superdimensional Earth plane. The ambush ordered by your adoptive father is in the past. These people are merely unfamiliar forces that set up this ambush. Don't get agitated. Xiao Tian abruptly realized his oversight. The chilling ambience that enveloped them returned to its original temperature. Rubbing his forehead, Xiao Tian flashed his familiar radiant smile at the two and apologized. I'm sorry. I was momentarily overwhelmed, thinking about some unpleasant memories. Did I scare you? Both Zhongling and Lu Yan shook their heads vigorously, indicating they weren't frightened at all. Xiao Tian, a bit exasperated, remarked, maybe you both could stand up while talking? Following this, he casually tossed the bloodied handkerchief into a black hole, silently muttering, thank you, puppy. Within the sea of his consciousness, a maid dressed in black gently cradled a soul, replying, you're welcome, esteemed master. Meanwhile, the battle in the sky continued. Unable to resist asking, Zhongling inquired, Prince, how do we separate Her Majesty and the other when the time comes? Lifting his gaze to the sky, Xiao Tian saw Zi Ruoyan, resembling a golden ice warrior queen. With each swing of her sword, a golden ice dragon roared and charged, eventually colliding with Luo Fengyuan, dispelling her flames. Zi Ruoyan, in another swift motion, thrust her sword, piercing through Luo Fengyuan's body. Stunned, she quickly withdrew her blade, shouting, idiot, why didn't you dodge? Yet, at that moment, the figure before her became ethereal, and a slender hand reached out from behind Zi Ruoyan. Luo Fengyuan whispered, oh dear, are you worried about me? Zi Ruoyan swiftly deflected Luo Fengyuan with her sword, her face turning crimson as she exclaimed, who allowed you to touch me so casually? To her surprise, Luo Fengyuan just chuckled and changed the topic, so small. Infuriated, Zi Ruoyan retorted, I am not like that young girl Zhongling. What's small about me? Down below, Xiao Tian nearly choked on his saliva. He glanced at Zhongling, who was looking up at the sky with a puzzled expression. Xiao Tian thought to himself, it's better that she never finds out. The person she respects the most might be the one who hurts her the most. Zi Ruoyan was the first to strike, landing a punch as she mocked. You think you're so great because you're bigger? Luo Fengyuan countered with a punch of his own, taunting back, can't you take a joke? Is it wrong to point out that you're small? Watching the two of them bicker and fight, Xiao Tian pondered for a moment. It seems like they've mostly vented their frustrations. Not only are they bantering, but their murderous intent has diminished significantly. Lu Yan frowned and voiced her concerns. Prince, if they continue like this, it might attract unnecessary trouble. Xiao Tian rubbed his wrist and agreed. Indeed, it's time to intervene. To their surprise, he started warming up, which made both Lu Yan and Zhongling's eyes light up with anticipation. It seemed the moment they had been waiting for was finally here. The prince was about to showcase his formidable strength. Xiao Tian cleared his throat and then suddenly shouted towards the two fighters in the sky, "Stop it. Both of you, stop fighting. Stop it right now." Upon hearing this, both Zhongling and Lu Yan were utterly stunned. Is this really the prince's solution? Unsurprisingly, neither Ziruoyan nor Luo Fengyuan seemed willing to be the first to cease their combat. They continued to clash intensely. However, in that moment, Xiao Tian slipped, and Ziruoyan noticed immediately. With a gasp of surprise, she teleported in a split second to appear behind Xiao Tian, catching him firmly in her embrace. Luo Fengyuan, arriving a moment too late, could only watch as Xiao Tian fell into Ziruoyan's arms. Lying in her hold, Xiao Tian began to inspect the clothing of the two fighters. He pondered to himself, when choosing clothes as a man, one has to pick the right kind. If it's leather, it feels rather cold, but is very smooth. Its shiny appearance is quite appealing. As for gauze clothing, though it might not insulate well, it's quite warm. Its matte finish gives off a slightly mysterious vibe, and it feels incredibly silky. Lost in his thoughts, Xiao Tian murmured aloud, "Choosing clothes is really difficult. Maybe I should get both types." Ziruoyan, still holding him, asked in confusion, "What did you say?" Xiao Tian looked up to see both of them staring intently at him. He quickly changed the topic, saying, "The hot spring has been ruined because of your fight. There's no more for us to enjoy in the future." Ziruoyan wasn't so easily fooled. She said with a hint of irritation, "That hot spring, I think you should soak in it for the entire night. You won't need to return to the palace tonight. Lu Yan, let him stay in your old mansion. He can stay in Green Flame Town." Lu Yan was taken aback and replied, "Your Majesty, my old mansion is located in the old district of Green Flame Town. Not only is it far from Green Flame Town, but it's also too dilapidated for anyone to live in. Are you serious?" As Ziruoyan turned to leave, Xiao Tian tried to persuade her once more, "Your Majesty, what about the hot pot dinner tonight?" Without turning her head, Ziruoyan replied, "I'll eat it myself. You don't need to worry about it." Feeling a bit helpless, Xiao Tian turned to Luo Fengyuan and asked, "And at your place?" But before he could finish, Luo Fengyuan suddenly released his hold on Xiao Tian and said, "Oh, this concubine suddenly remembered that I have plans tonight. It seems I won't be able to host Prince Xiao. Anyway, since the Empress has had her say, it's not appropriate for me either." Seeing Luo Fengyuan's jealous demeanor, Xiao Tian felt completely at a loss. Ziruoyan then instructed Zhongling not to allow Xiao Tian to stay at the Zhong residence for the night. Afterward, the two went their separate ways, leaving Xiao Tian behind. Zhongling and Lu Yan looked at Xiao Tian with concern. "Prince, it seems you've messed things up." Xiao Tian glanced at them and responded, "You may not understand, but if you want to laugh, just do it. Your suppressed smiles make me feel even worse." Upon hearing this, the two burst into hearty laughter. That night, inside Lu Yan's dilapidated mansion, Xiao Tian lay on a tattered bed. The system puppy inquired, "Respected master, would you like to activate the sleep aid mode?" "No need. I plan to sleep late tonight," Xiao Tian replied. After what felt like hours, a shadow slowly approached the entrance. It was Empress Ziruoyan, her face marked with annoyance. "This guy is sleeping so soundly. I told you not to come back, and you really didn't." How infuriating. Little did she know, Xiao Tian was not asleep at all. At that moment, he was excitedly thinking, "I'm glad I didn't turn on the sleep aid mode from the system. Will the Empress really sneak into my room tonight? I'm so looking forward to it." I've been trying to bait her, and as expected, in the middle of the night, Empress Ziruoyan came again. Observing Xiao Tian, who appeared to be soundly asleep, she thought, "He seems to be sleeping deeply. I wonder if he's pretending or if he's genuinely asleep. I have an idea." With a sudden inspiration, the Empress summoned a table full of hot pot from her storage ring. She then couldn't resist any longer and gave Xiao Tian a kiss. "He still hasn't woken up. It seems he really is asleep," she thought. After what felt like hours, Xiao Tian finally began to stir. Ziruoyan quickly stood up, wondering what excuse she would use. Pretending to be unaware, Xiao Tian murmured, "Strange, why am I drooling again? The food smells so good, especially the hot pot. Could it be that I drooled because of the aroma?" Seizing the opportunity, the Empress chimed in, "So that's the reason. I was wondering why you drool every time you sleep. Now it makes sense. Who can blame you when you're such a glutton?" Feigning realization, Xiao Tian said, "I must have dreamt about eating food. Wait, that's not right." Suddenly, he pointed at Ziruoyan and asked, "Your Majesty, what are you doing here?" Seeing Xiao Tian's confused expression, a thought crossed Ziruoyan's mind. He looks so adorable when he's clueless. She then sat down at the table and said, "I initially didn't want to come, but I realized that as the Great Flame Empress, I shouldn't have to do things myself. Besides, I'm not a narrow-minded person. However, you still need to be punished. Tonight, you can only feed me the hot pot, and you're not allowed to eat yourself." Gazing at Ziruoyan's seemingly calm demeanor, but noticing her flushed ears, Xiao Tian, holding back a chuckle, bowed and said, "My dear Empress, rest assured, I'll make sure you enjoy the meal." Just as Ziruoyan was about to respond, she noticed Xiao Tian, bowl and chopsticks in hand, sitting right next to her. She questioned, "Why are you sitting so close to me?" Xiao Tian looked serious. "Your Majesty, if I sit too far, it won't be convenient to feed you. If I accidentally drop food on the table or the ground, it's not just a sign of disrespect to you, but mainly a waste of food, don't you think? Zeroyan blinked and replied with her face turning a shade of red. I also think, yes, it should be like that. Thus, the two sat side by side. After boiling a piece of meat, Xiao Tian cooled it by blowing on it, while Zeroyan anxiously clenched her fists. After a moment, Xiao Tian picked up a piece of meat and fed it to her. The meat tasted perfect in her mouth, with the right temperature and texture. It was simply divine. Wearing a beaming smile, Xiao Tian asked, how is it? Tasty? It's okay, Zeroyan replied, feigning indifference. After all, I've only had one bite. How could I know its flavor? Xiao Tian immediately poured more ingredients into the pot and said, wait a moment, Your Majesty, it'll be ready soon. As he busied himself, Zeroyan watched with amusement. Shortly after, Xiao Tian offered another piece of food. Your Majesty, try this. How's the flavor? It's alright, she replied nonchalantly. And this one? It's passable, I guess. At that moment, the chopsticks in Xiao Tian's hand accidentally fell to the ground. He slapped his thigh in frustration. How clumsy of me. I even dropped the chopsticks. I can't even manage such a simple task as serving Your Majesty. Zeroyan quickly reassured him. It's just a minor issue. You shouldn't blame yourself so much. With a downcast tone, Xiao Tian asked, then how can I feed you with these foods? It's okay, I have. Before Zeroyan could finish, Xiao Tian interrupted. I've got it. I can feed you with my mouth. Your Majesty, I must say, I'm quite ingenious. Zeroyan was stunned. Her face instantly flushed with embarrassment. Before she could react, Xiao Tian was already holding a piece of meat towards her. She could only gently bite it, silently cheering herself on. It's okay. I'm the Empress. What's there to be nervous about? Feeding me this way since the chopsticks fell is reasonable. Yet in the next second, Xiao Tian leaned in, and they shared a passionate kiss. Zeroyan quickly turned her head away. Teasingly, Xiao Tian asked, Your Majesty, was it good? It was okay. Just average, she replied. Yet inside, she was ecstatic, thinking, this feeling, it's so different from being secretive. It feels so much better when it's out in the open. Xiao Tian shook his head slightly, looking out of the window, gazing at the bright, full moon. He couldn't help but murmur, such a beautiful moon tonight. Hearing this, Zeroyan also turned to look at the night sky, softly agreeing, indeed, it's beautiful. The room was filled with tranquility, with only the bubbling sound of the hot pot. Zeroyan pursed her lips and slowly shifted her chair, discreetly moving closer to Xiao Tian. Just as the two seemed to be getting closer, a figure suddenly jumped in through the window. It was Demon Clan Empress, Luo Fengyuan. Before she could stand up, she excitedly said, Brother Xiao, this concubine brought some fine wine. Let's drink till we're drunk. Lifting her head, Luo Fengyuan finally noticed Zeroyan and couldn't help but mockingly say, oh, how come this little bun is here? Not one to back down. Zeroyan retorted, I'd also love to know why this cow is here. The atmosphere quickly became tense. You called me what? I called you a purple-haired mess. The two continued bickering, leaving Xiao Tian feeling utterly exasperated. He thought, such a predicament. Suddenly, Luo Fengyuan turned around and sat down, speaking in a sarcastic tone. How strange. Wasn't this Empress furious, forbidding Brother Xiao from staying overnight in the palace, even specifically warning Brother Xiao not to return to the Zhong residence? So, was all this fuss just for a secret rendezvous here? Zeroyan crossed her arms, retorting, it's still better than someone who deliberately overstays, eavesdropping on others. Weren't you the one who said you were busy tonight? So, your busy night involves sneaking around to chase after my man, does it? Hearing this, Luo Fengyuan feigned innocence. But from what this concubine knows, aren't you just using Xiao Tian as a shield? The Prime Minister Lu proposed for his son, and you got married that very night. Who are you trying to fool? Zeroyan was momentarily at a loss for words. Regardless of whether he's a shield or not, ever since he entered the palace, alive he's mine and dead he's my ghost. With that, Zeroyan suddenly slapped in Luo Fengyuan's direction, asking defiantly, showing off for whom? Think you're very impressive? Luo Fengyuan, startled, quickly shielded herself, exclaiming, you dog Empress, I won't let this go. With that, Luo Fengyuan lunged at Zeroyan. Zeroyan, taken aback and her face pale with fear, shouted, you bully, what are you doing? Stop at once. From the side, Xiao Tian watched the two without blinking, thinking to himself, incredible, this is truly entertaining. Before long, both women were panting from exhaustion. Luo Fengyuan spoke first, enough fighting, continuing like this will get us nowhere. So, what's your brilliant idea? Luo Fengyuan slapped the wine jug beside her. If we can't settle this through physical combat, let's have a battle of wits. A drinking contest. Do you dare, Z-Bun? Zeroyan immediately waved her hand dismissively, scoffing, you think I'd be afraid of you? The next moment, a whole line of wine jars flew out from a storage ring, neatly arranged on the ground. Both of them slapped the table simultaneously, pushing the hot pot aside. Their hands then radiated spiritual power, directly opening the wine jars. As spiritual energy and demonic energy intertwined, the wine inside the jars rose into the air, mingling together before falling back into the jars. Immediately after, both turned their heads in unison. Brother Xiao. After saying their piece, they turned their attention back to each other, sparks seemingly flying between their gazes. It was uncertain who would emerge victorious this evening. Zeroyan believed believed in the principle of first come, first served. But Luo Fengyuan believed in another principle. The newcomer surpasses the old. Xiao Tian, looking quite aggrieved, was left pouring drinks for the two women, unable to get a word in. Ziruoyan continued to advise, I still want to remind you, a forcefully plucked melon is not sweet. Luo Fengyuan, with some hidden thought making her face turn red with amusement, retorted, how do you know that something taken by force isn't sweet? What if it's especially sweet? Soon, bowls piled up in front of both of them, but neither Ziruoyan nor Luo Fengyuan showed much sign of inebriation. Ziruoyan gave a light hum. I didn't expect your tolerance to be this good. Heh, you're not too bad yourself. Another round? Ziruoyan said, her storage ring glowing as she prepared to bring out more wine. Luo Fengyuan, undeterred, looked defiantly at her. The next moment, both of them took out another 8 jars of wine, arranging them neatly on the ground. Luo Fengyuan, picking up a jar, suddenly turned and proposed, this time, let's change the game. Ziruoyan casually spread her hands. Alright, how do we play? Luo Fengyuan pondered for a moment. We compete using martial techniques. Lose a move, take a drink. How about it? Ziruoyan smiled and immediately agreed. The very next moment, the two of them rushed out of the house, not using any spiritual energy, purely matching each other move for move. Xiao Tian chose to sit on the roof, enjoying the scenery while deep in thought. As he watched, Ziruoyan landed a punch on Luo Fengyuan's face, immediately lifting a wine jar and taking a big gulp. She then followed up with a knee to Luo Fengyuan's stomach, and Luo Fengyuan, in turn, gulped down a large mouthful of wine. Xiao Tian was flabbergasted. The usual lightweight Ziruoyan, who typically was down after 3 cups in front of him, was clearly bluffing all this while. She had drunk several jars by now, and was still evenly matched with Luo Fengyuan in their brawl. And what was Luo Fengyuan thinking, bringing that strong-smelling wine to their place? What was the meaning behind the high-concentration alcohol in Empress Ziruoyan's storage ring? They even had their wine bowls prepared. What was going on? As Xiao Tian was lost in thought, a sudden burst of crying from the front snapped him back to reality. He heard Ziruoyan sobbingly say, my father has disappeared, and my mother, the prince, is also missing. Do you think you have it worse than me? Yet you still want to snatch my husband from me? Luo Fengyuan, tears streaming down her face, responded, at least there's a possibility your parents are still alive. But what about my parents? They killed each other. Can't you just let brother Xiao be with me? But my eldest brother died in battle. My brothers are also gone. My second brother is gone too. All of my sisters are gone as well. Ziruoyan, in her daze, stared at Luo Fengyuan for a while, then suddenly reached out to pat her on the head. It does seem like you've had it a bit rougher. Luo Fengyuan stuttered, struggling to find words, and suddenly pulled Ziruoyan into her embrace, holding her head and crying bitterly. Xiao Tian, who was watching from the side, was completely dumbfounded. What kind of plot twist was this? Was this some kind of competition of who had a more tragic past? But in a way, they indeed belonged to the same kind of people. As the two women unexpectedly drifted off to sleep, Xiao Tian got up and approached them. With ease, he picked them up, one in each arm, and gently placed them on the bed. After looking at them for a moment, he glanced around the messy room. So troublesome, he mumbled. The two women had conveniently fallen asleep, leaving him to clean up the mess. Ripping open a spatial void, Xiao Tian threw in all the wine jars and trash. Moments later, he stood in the courtyard, now pristine and clean, and nodded with satisfaction. Returning to the room, Xiao Tian froze upon entering. On the bed, Ziruoyan and Luo Fengyuan were wrapped around each other, sleeping soundly like intertwined octopuses. A tender smile crept onto Xiao Tian's face. These two. The next day, as the sun was already high in the sky, rays of sunlight spilled through the window onto the two women. Their sleeping positions looked quite disheveled. At one point, Ziruoyan, perhaps reacting to a dream, made a sudden move. Luo Fengyuan, out of reflex, swatted her hand away. However, in their half-asleep state, they unexpectedly leaned into each other and shared a brief kiss. The two of them snapped awake almost instantly, their eyes locking onto each other. Realizing whom they had just kissed, both quickly turned away and spat repeatedly on the floor in disgust. Wiping her mouth, Luo Fengyuan was the first to speak. It's one thing for you, a female hooligan, to grab me, but you even dared to kiss me. Ziruoyan's face turned bright red. It was clearly you who kissed me first, and now you have the nerve to play the victim? I'm going to take you on, you Z-Bun. You Luo cow. Do you think I'm afraid of you? With that, the two started to bicker and tussle right on the bed. Just as they were tangled up, Xiao Tian pushed the door and walked in. So spirited so early in the morning, the scene before him left him completely stunned. The three of them stared at each other for what felt like a long moment before Xiao Tian finally found his voice. I'll go prepare breakfast for you both. Without giving the two women a chance to respond, Xiao Tian turned on his heel and left. Luo Fengyuan wore a smug expression. Xiao brother was quite naughty just now. He kept staring at this concubine. Ziruoyan, annoyed by her smugness, started to get dressed and laughed. You're joking, right? Clearly, Xiao lord's eyes were only on me. Someone should avoid being overly self-confident. Hearing this, Luo Fengyuan snickered and glanced at Ziruoyan disdainfully. Being too confident isn't always good. Who do you think would be interested in buns? Heavens, this comment hit a nerve, and Zeroyan swiftly turned her head, fists clenched. Today, I'll tear that cow mouth of yours apart. The two women once again began their fierce scuffle. Meanwhile, Xiao Tian peeked around the corner, his eyes shining brightly, not blinking at all. I didn't realize Zeroyan had such an impressive figure. No, this is too violent. I better prepare their meal. I can't watch this anymore. Half an hour later, both Zeroyan and Luo Fengyuan had changed their clothes and were quietly sitting in the courtyard, eating noodles. Luo Fengyuan was lost in the taste. The noodles made by brother Xiao are so delicious. Zeroyan also expressed her admiration. Xiao Lord, your culinary skills are on par with Uncle Zhong. Xiao Tian waved them off, indicating they should tone down their praise. I just know a bit. As long as you both enjoy it, I'm happy. Zeroyan, out of curiosity, asked, given your cooking skills, Xiao Lord, why do you let Uncle Zhong cook instead of doing it yourself? Xiao Tian smiled and replied, food made by someone else always tastes better than when I make it myself. Luo Fengyuan, on the other hand, quickly gulped down her bowl. Xiao Tian, seeing this, admonished, slow down. Who's trying to snatch it from you? Upon hearing that, Luo Fengyuan put down her bowl, slurped up the soup from her lips, and in response to Xiao Tian's reprimand, grinned. This concubine knows now. Zeroyan snorted in response and hurriedly drank her soup, raising her eyebrows at Luo Fengyuan once done, even flipping the bowl to indicate its emptiness, as if challenging her. Xiao Tian was left utterly befuddled by their competitiveness, thinking, women are so hard to understand. After breakfast, Zeroyan suddenly inquired, Luo Fengyuan, if I recall correctly from last night, you have no family left, right? Thinking about the night when they comforted each other, Luo Fengyuan felt embarrassed. Zeroyan then unexpectedly suggested, how about you move into the palace? Not only was Luo Fengyuan stunned by the proposal, but even Xiao Tian was taken aback, wondering, the Empress isn't jealous anymore? Why let her into the palace? Yet, Luo Fengyuan responded with a mysterious smile, little miss, are you perhaps concerned for this concubine? Zeroyan, looking flustered, retorted, how could I? Why would I care about you, you annoying cow? If you're outside the palace, you might try to seduce Xiao Lord, but if you live inside, under my watch, you won't be able to make any moves or steal any moments with him. Yes, that's it. I'm not concerned about you being alone. I just don't want you seducing Xiao Lord. Xiao Tian looked on helplessly, thinking, Your Majesty, you're really not good at lying. Luo Fengyuan readily agreed to the proposition. If that's the case, then this concubine won't hold back. Zeroyan defiantly stood up and, although a bit resentful, responded, come if you wish. What do I have to fear? If there's competition, let's face it head on. If I didn't have this much confidence, I wouldn't be the great flame empress. Upon hearing this, Luo Fengyuan chuckled and moved closer to Zeroyan, saying, Empress, it's not a big deal. Compared to you, I'd say I'm more magnanimous. Even if you lose, I can still let you be a concubine. Zeroyan replied with a smile, who ends up as a concubine remains to be seen, princess of a fallen nation. Hearing this title, Luo Fengyuan burst out laughing, considering how adorable and kind you are. Zeroyan, I won't pretend anymore. I'll lay my cards on the table. I'm not some princess from a fallen nation. I am the demon emperor of the primordial demon kingdom. The outside world prefers to call me the Holy Demon Empress. Holy Demon Empress? Xiao Tian looked at Luo Fengyuan in shock, especially at the horns on her head. So, she's not human. Zeroyan was equally stunned. She's of a different race, like the barbarians, and her title is Holy Demon Empress. Empress, that's on par with my status. This won't do. Xiao Tian is mine, and only mine. It seems I need to be more careful so she doesn't steal him away. With these thoughts, Zeroyan smiled and said, you truly surprise me. Luo Fengyuan casually sat down, crossing her legs. As you said, fair and square. There's no point in hiding things, right? She then turned to Xiao Tian, her tone coquettish. I'm sorry, Xiao Tian. I didn't mean to hide my identity. Trust me, aside from that, I've been mostly honest with you. After all, being from the Holy Demon Clan, most humans can't accept being with someone from the Demon Clan. However, Xiao Tian's focus was elsewhere. He pointed to her horns and asked, if these broke off, would it hurt? Do they keep growing? Do you need to file them regularly? Do members of your Demon Clan ever pierce them? Would that hurt? Luo Fengyuan answered honestly, these horns are a symbol of our Holy Demon Clan and are the toughest parts of our body. Breaking them would definitely hurt, and we don't have a tradition of piercing them. She then grew a bit anxious. Xiao Tian, now that you've seen my horns and tail, don't you feel weird? At this, Xiao Tian's excitement grew. What? You have a tail too? That's awesome. Luo Fengyuan looked at Xiao Tian in surprise. Xiao Tian, don't you think? Before she could finish, Xiao Tian raised his hand, chopping lightly on Luo Fengyuan's forehead with a playful hand chop gesture. I don't care about what you think. What matters is what I think. I've said I don't mind, and I meant it. So you have horns, the tail? So what? As Luo Fengyuan was about to say something, Xiao Tian raised his hand again. Instinctively, she closed her eyes, expecting another playful hit. Instead, Xiao Tian gently ruffled her hair, saying softly, the person I know is named Luo Fengyuan, not the Holy Demon Clan. Feeling overwhelmed with happiness, Luo Fengyuan, with a beaming smile, lunged towards Xiao Tian. Tian. Unexpectedly, she ended up in the soft embrace of Ziruan, who looked displeased. Don't overstep your bounds, Purple Fuzz. Irritated, Luo Fengyuan retorted, can't you read the room, Yellow Fuzz? Watching the two women bickering, Xiao Tian suddenly had an idea. Puppy, can you record this? Respected master, a voice responded. I've been recording since yesterday. Good job. I'll definitely give you a 5-star review. I apologize for previously calling you just a voice assistant, Xiao Tian praised. Moments later, he stepped in to separate the two women and asked Luo Fengyuan, let's get back to the main issue. Why did you choose to reveal your identity? Luo Fengyuan took a deep breath before speaking slowly. Before we get to the main issue, Ziruan, there's something I need to tell you. The concept of the 3,000 worlds is just a name. In reality, there are far more than 3,000 worlds out there. Whenever a world's rules break down, space becomes unstable and spiritual energy gets chaotic, rendering the world unsuitable for long-term habitation. It's referred to as a barren domain. The southern barren domain was once ruled by the imperial power known as the Great Flame Empire. But 60,000 years ago, during the War of the Domains, this domain started to crumble. At this point, Luo Fengyuan stepped forward, taking Ziruan's hand with a solemn demeanor. Ziruan, the world you've experienced since childhood, it's all an illusion. Empress Ziruan was visibly shaken, her face serious as she tried to process the profound revelation. Recovering quickly, she looked determinedly at Luo Fengyuan. Whether it's real or not, I am still the Great Flame Empress, the sovereign of the countless citizens of the Great Flame Dynasty. Luo Fengyuan momentarily looked surprised. Then she hugged Ziruan tightly. You truly are worthy of being the woman trying to steal Xiao Tian from me. To remain so composed in the face of such news is impressive. On closer inspection, you're not so bad after all. Fine, even if you end up as a concubine in the future, Big Sister won't give you a hard time. Ziruan's mouth twitched in annoyance. I really want to squash you, you silly cow. Saying this, Ziruan reached out and gave Luo Fengyuan a hard pinch. Luo Fengyuan, feeling the pain, let out a sharp cry. However, she could only blush and pleaded with Ziruan. Alright, let's stop the teasing and get to the matter at hand. This issue is somewhat related to your father, the esteemed Purple Emperor. My father? Ziruan was taken aback upon hearing her father's name. Luo Fengyuan turned her gaze to Xiao Tian. First, I need to be honest with Xiao Tian about more of my history. The previous Demon Emperor and Demon Empress of the primordial demon kingdom were my parents. Since my birth 20 years ago, they had been embroiled in internal strife. After their deaths, my siblings, seeking to seize the throne, tried to eradicate me. After I ascended the throne, I unexpectedly found a 3-party agreement related to the Great Flame Dynasty from my 18th brother. As Ziruan listened to Luo Fengyuan's past, her eyes shimmered with emotion. So she's just a month older than me. We're both 20 years old. Although she had her parents and siblings, her life wasn't much different from living alone. Our experiences share some similarities and commonalities. But how can she be so mature despite being just a month older? How did she grow up like this? Luo Fengyuan continued. From the intelligence I gathered from the Holy Demon sect under my brother's command, the Southern Barren Domain is currently under the control of the Eastern Flame Kingdom and the Astral Pavilion. This domain serves as a trial ground to test the younger generation from both sides, and also as a place to search for relics and valuable treasures. However, 100 years ago, another trial was initiated. The young members of both the Eastern Flame Kingdom and the Astral Pavilion discovered a brand new wonder. On top of a mountain formed from a dragon corpse, they first encountered the esteemed Purple Emperor as an infant. At this point, Luo Fengyuan looked at Ziruan, thinking it might be best to let her digest this information. Ziruan fell deep in thought. The Eastern Flame Kingdom and Astral Pavilion found my father 100 years ago. But why? When he established his empire 45 years ago, was he only 20 years old? And what Xiao Tian mentioned earlier about my father's experience seeming intentional. So, this false world began 65 years ago, the moment my father was adopted, right? Luo Fengyuan nodded in affirmation. After discovering your father 100 years ago, both the Eastern Flame Kingdom and the Astral Pavilion tried various methods. They couldn't move the dragon corpse or melt the ice seal until the appearance of the primordial embryo, a treasured item nurtured by the heavens and earth. With the emergence of the primordial embryo, the ice began to thaw, and a pure imperial aura leaked from your father's body. My 18th brother happened to sense it and came searching. From then on, the Holy Demon Clan, Eastern Flame Kingdom, and Astral Pavilion became acquainted. Luo Fengyuan then looked solemnly at Ziruan. Although the imperial bloodline cannot be forcibly taken, there are other ways. That is to gather the human race's legitimate imperial luck to bolster one's own power and gain the blessings of heaven and earth. In this way, when one achieves enlightenment, everything around them flourishes. Moreover, the legitimacy of the human race's destiny is too prestigious for any single party to claim. Dividing it among 3 was just right. Afterward, the Demon Clan provided the methods, used some resources to buy slaves, and replenish the population. Astral Pavilion was responsible for observations, calculations, and designing the process of consolidating imperial luck. The the Eastern Flame Kingdom contributed manpower and effort, using their experience to build an empire for the esteemed Purple Emperor. After 30 years, the ice seal completely melted. My 18th brother, the king of the Eastern Flame Kingdom and the pavilion master of Astral Pavilion, they sealed their cultivation levels and personally brought the infant esteemed Purple Emperor here. At the same time, a waning Han dynasty had already been established. They personally took the esteemed Purple Emperor to that village and entrusted him to an old scholar. Luo Fengyuan suddenly grasped Ziruoyan's hands. From that moment on, the fabricated life of your father, the esteemed Purple Emperor, began. Originally, under Astral Pavilion's calculations, the primordial embryo would take 60 years to mature, but there has been an issue. Its maturation is accelerating. Ziruoyan pondered for a moment. What exactly is this primordial embryo you speak of? Luo Fengyuan gave a mysterious smile. It's on you. Ziruoyan frowned in confusion. On me? I wasn't aware. Wait, could it be? She quickly retrieved an item from her storage ring. That's right, Luo Fengyuan affirmed. The Imperial Seal of Great Flame is that very primordial embryo. Once the dynasty's fate successfully consolidates and the Imperial Seal matures, it will be time to seize the nation's destiny. Ziruoyan looked up at her. What will happen if the nation's destiny is seized? Hearing this, Luo Fengyuan slowly held up two fingers. Different choices lead to different outcomes. The first choice, if the destiny is seized, it signifies the demise of the Great Flame Dynasty. All the subjects of the Great Flame Dynasty will perish, leaving only you as the sole survivor, becoming a desolate empress. The second choice is for you, as the empress, to resist the backlash from the theft of the nation's destiny, to sacrifice yourself and protect the subjects of the Great Flame. Ziruoyan frowned. Didn't you say that all of this is fake? Shouldn't these civilians and officials? Luo Fengyuan interrupted her immediately. The events might be fabricated, but the Great Flame Dynasty genuinely exists. The people who were first thrown here had their memories altered, but as time passed, the population naturally grew. Ziruoyan took a deep breath. What happened to the dragon corpse that couldn't be moved? Luo Fengyuan pointed behind her. After the ice crystal sealing your father melted, that dragon corpse transformed into a vast mountain range, which is now the Green Flame Mountain Range. Xiao Tian should be able to sense this too. Xiao Tian finally understood. No wonder everything grown and bred on this mountain is so delicious. Does that mean what I've been raising are dragon pigs? Dragon chickens? Damn it, why didn't you say this earlier? I sold them too cheaply. He playfully chopped at Luo Fengyuan's head. Ziruoyan quickly pulled Luo Fengyuan aside. What happened afterward? Do you know about my father's disappearance? And what about my two royal brothers? Luo Fengyuan gently patted Ziruoyan's head to comfort her. Don't worry, your father is definitely safe. According to the intelligence, your father was most likely rescued by your mother. My mother? Ziruoyan's pupils contracted, as she seemingly had no recollection of her mother. After your father sensed the plan to seize the dynasty's fate, he secretly left the Great Flame Dynasty. The illusionary array that was supposed to cloud his mind surprisingly lost its effect, allowing him to see the true nature of the southern wilderness. As a result, he was pursued by the chief disciples led by the Eastern Flame Kingdom and Astral Pavilion. However, your mother's power is incredibly formidable. Even when she was in the sealed realm, she was able to combat two opponents at once. There were hints that she even had the upper hand, but suddenly, a large hand tore through the space, taking both your parents away without a trace. According to your elder brother's conjecture, your mother's background might be extremely mysterious and formidable. She revealed herself while saving your father. That massive hand was probably the act of a powerful figure from her family. Right now, your father must be residing with your mother's family. As to why he hasn't come back for you, I'm clueless. Luo Fengyuan shot a glance at Xiao Tian, noticing his envious expression. Xiao brother, what are you thinking about? Xiao Tian snapped back to reality, cleared his throat, and said, I was thinking that this Eastern Flame Kingdom and Astral Pavilion are so wicked. How could they manipulate someone's life like that? It's so unfair. He then turned to Ziruoyan, consoling her. Your Majesty, don't worry too much. Your father, having been controlled and toiled for many years, is now with your mother's family. At the very least, he doesn't have to worry about food and clothing anymore. He doesn't have to exert himself and can take a good rest. Finishing his words, Xiao Tian fell deep into thought again. Why is my father-in-law so fortunate to be taken away, piercing through countless spatial barriers, such a background, such support, and the capability to live off someone? It's incredibly solid. No wonder he's so contented that he's even forgotten about his own daughter. Why can't I live a carefree life like him? Why do I always run into abnormal individuals, forcing me to combat them? All I wanted was to live a comfortable life. Where did I go wrong? Luo Fengyuan and Ziruoyan, observing his conflicted expression, exchanged glances. What's gotten into him? I have no idea. Xiao Tian has two top-tier wealthy wives, yet he still felt his life wasn't good enough. After some deep contemplation, he had an epiphany. It's because his wife isn't powerful enough. He abruptly grabbed his wife's hand, his eyes filled with anticipation. Empress Ziruoyan and Luo Fengyuan were startled and quickly asked, Xiao brother, what's wrong? The more Xiao Tian thought, the more it made sense to him. As the saying goes, to forge iron, you yourself must be strong. For for food to be delicious, the wife must be powerful. It seemed that Ziruoyan had already realized she needed to become stronger. Her excuse to invite Luo Fengyuan to live in the palace was merely a pretext. Ziruoyan surely wanted to spar with her to enhance her strength. Realizing this, Xiao Tian gave Ziruoyan a thumbs up, saying, "You are indeed the Empress, always so thoughtful and wise." Ziruoyan was puzzled. What did I do? Why am I considered thoughtful and wise now? Luo Fengyuan, still with a silly smile on his face, remarked, "Xiao brother's thoughts are really hard to guess, but I love it. He. After taking a moment to compose herself, Ziruoyan asked Luo Fengyuan again, "So, after my father disappeared, I became the substitute, right?" Luo Fengyuan spread his hands in agreement. "Exactly. The original choice for the substitute was the crown prince, your eldest brother. But your elder brother did not awaken the true imperial bloodline of the human race. Neither did your second brother. Everyone had given up hope, but unexpectedly, over 4 years ago, you awakened." Ziruoyan sighed. "For years ago, such a fateful time. I was in a dire situation back then. Awakening at that time saved my life and allowed me to ascend to the position of Demon Empress." Hearing this, Xiao Tian suddenly interjected, "4 years ago? Coincidentally, I also nearly died 4 years ago." Ziruoyan was shocked. "You almost died? Was that something that happened in your realm?" It turned out that 4 years ago, Xiao Tian was still on Earth and had not been summoned to this world yet. On that particular day, heavy rain poured. Xiao Tian was being chased by a large gang and had already been stabbed over a dozen times. Just as he was about to give up, a hand reached out from an alleyway and pulled him in. Even now, Xiao Tian couldn't understand how the rain and darkness could blind those pursuing him so completely, and how that girl disappeared without a trace remained a mystery to him. Ziruoyan felt a twinge of jealousy. What did that girl look like? Luo Fengyuan also stood up, visibly excited. "Did that girl become someone important to you later on?" Xiao Tian waved his hands dismissively. "Not at all. She disappeared like a ghost." "But isn't the key point that our experiences from 4 years ago are so eerily similar? We both turned a dangerous situation into a blessing and moved on to something better. As for what she looked like, is it that important?" Though her silver hair was indeed rare. Suddenly, Xiao Tian moved closer to Ziruoyan. "She was very beautiful, with mesmerizing eyes much like yours." He then turned to Luo Fengyuan. "Her eyebrows, so captivating, looked almost exactly like yours." Both of them blushed, thinking he was merely flattering them. They playfully accused him of trying to charm them with his smooth talk. But only Xiao Tian knew that he wasn't just trying to please them. That 16-year-old girl with silver hair on that rainy night on Earth really had eyes like Ziruoyan's and eyebrows indistinguishable from Luo Fengyuan's. At that moment, Luo Fengyuan suddenly pulled Xiao Tian into a tight embrace, catching Xiao Tian completely off guard. With a flirtatious tone, Luo Fengyuan whispered, "Xiao brother, this concubine has laid all the cards on the table for you, sacrificing my own interests. Don't I deserve some kind of reward?" Before Xiao Tian could respond, Ziruoyan erupted in anger. "Let him go at once." Luo Fengyuan playfully stuck her tongue out at Ziruoyan. "I don't want to let go." Xiao Tian was rendered speechless by the whole scene. Ziruoyan could no longer contain herself. "You, come here." She grabbed Luo Fengyuan by the collar and pulled her close. Luo Fengyuan teasingly remarked, "Oh my, why so mad again?" Xiao Tian watched the scene unfold and urgently whispered a call to Puppy in his mind. The system Puppy immediately responded, "Respected master, when Luo Fengyuan lunged at you, I predicted the action and started recording." Xiao Tian gave a thumbs up. "Well done. 5 stars for you." Wishing for a more peaceful life, Xiao Tian asked Puppy, "Is there a way to boost the strength of Luo Fengyuan and Ziruoyan?" Puppy explained, "Master, when you have good intentions towards someone, depending on the degree of soul compatibility, your aura can envelop and indirectly enhance their strength. The higher the soul compatibility, the better the effect of martial arts practice under your aura. Here are the current compatibility percentages: Zhong Yangming 90%, Ziruoyan 105%, Luo Fengyuan 102%. Xiao Tian's hair stood on end. "What? Zhong Yangming, a grown man, has 90% compatibility? What does this mean?" Puppy chuckled, "Master, soul compatibility increases based on how often you're with them. The longer you're together, the faster it grows. The rapid enhancement of the national fate and Ziruoyan's rapid realm advancements are all because of your presence." Xiao Tian was dumbfounded. "So this is related to me? But Eastern Flame Kingdom, Astral Pavilion, Holy Demon Sect is our own." Puppy quickly caught on. "Master, data for Eastern Flame Kingdom and Astral Pavilion is insufficient for navigation. You can ask Luo Fengyuan for information, but these two factions may not be in the South Wasteland realm. If you decide to go after them, you might need to travel across different realms." Xiao Tian looked perplexed. "What do you mean go after them? I need to correct you on this. I am not inclined towards violence. Whether it's the Eastern Flame Kingdom or the Astral Pavilion, if they can establish a fake dynasty and orchestrate a plan spanning over 100 years, they are not to be trifled with. Moreover, they have not attacked me, so I cannot harm them without reason." Just then, the previously playful Ziruoyan and Luo Fengyuan suddenly brought out several jars of wine and placed them on the table. Xiao Tian was utterly nearly speechless. Here we go again, he thought. Luo Fengyuan provocatively held up a finger to Ziruan. Dare to compete again, you female hooligan? Ziruan, with a wave of her hand, lined up the wine jars and taunted. Are you joking? Who would be afraid of you? Which? Xiao Tian felt a pang of bitterness in his heart. How much wine did these two women bring last night? Are they trying to drown me in it? As expected, after an undetermined period of drinking, the two women were once again crying in each other's arms. Why didn't my powerful parents come to find me? One lamented. My parents were no better. The other sobbed. They didn't care about their child's life, only their own happiness. We can only rely on ourselves. After a while, the two could no longer hold on and, still hugging each other, fell asleep on the ground. Xiao Tian wanted to separate them and take them to their rooms, but found them clutching each other so tightly that he couldn't pull them apart. With a sigh of resignation, he decided, fine, I'll just carry them as they are. He carefully placed the two on a bed and covered them with blankets. In her sleep, Luo Fengyuan muttered, Brother Xiao, come play. Xiao Tian, feeling a moment of peace, went to the courtyard. He instructed Puppy to hand him a communication jade token. With a wave of his hand, he opened a spatial rift and threw all the empty wine jars inside. After tidying up the courtyard, Zhongling and Lu Yan arrived. Holding the communication jade token, Zhongling inquired, Prince, you called for us. What do you need? Xiao Tian waved them over. Come and see. As they entered the room, Zhongling's eyes widened in shock. Prince, you're so wild. Ziruan and Luo Fengyuan were both sound asleep, showing signs of utter exhaustion. Xiao Tian swiftly gave Zhongling a flick on the head. Little rascal, where did you pick up such nonsense? Lu Yan finally spoke up. Prince, you called for us. Are you asking us to take care of Her Majesty and this? Xiao Tian nodded in agreement. I called you here to keep an eye on them. If anything happens, use the jade token to notify me. Rest assured, Prince, we'll take good care of them. Where are you going at this late hour? It's nothing much. There's something I wanted to ask you about. Just don't mention it to Her Majesty, okay? Of course, Prince. Please go on. Xiao Tian hesitated for a moment. It seems there's a power around the Great Flame Dynasty called the Astral Pavilion, right? Do you know where it is? I do know where the Astral Pavilion is. May I ask why the prince is inquiring about it? Xiao Tian smiled. Well, you know my nature. I truly can't bear to blame others. I intend to go and forgive them, give them a chance to live. Upon hearing this, both Zhongling and Lu Yan felt a shiver down their spines. What should have been a merciful statement somehow felt chilling and menacing coming from the prince. Xiao Tian immediately asked Zhongling about the whereabouts of the Astral Pavilion. She responded with palpable fear. Prince, are you genuinely going to forgive them and not to defeat them? Xiao Tian flicked her on the head again. What's gotten into you? Have all my teachings been in vain? Is this the insight you've gained from your recent good deeds and cultivation? Holding her head, Zhongling exclaimed, Prince, please stop hitting my head. I feel like I'm getting dumber by the second, and your form of good deeds is quite terrifying in itself. Lu Yan, looking exasperated, chimed in, the prince is indeed kind-hearted. He renovates orphanages, takes care of the old and young, and supports those in need. For the common people, the prince is benevolent. However, for officials involved in corruption, taking bribes, and exploiting villagers, this is not benevolence. For the sake of the common people, the prince has already ordered the execution of hundreds of corrupt officials. Subsequently, Xiao Tian put on a compassionate face and sighed, alas, one shouldn't be like this. While the Astral Pavilion has indeed made mistakes, no one is perfect. Why can't we give them a chance to redeem themselves? With that said, Xiao Tian walked towards the exit. With a slight push of his foot, he transformed into a streak of light, shooting towards the sky. Zhongling watched Xiao Tian's departing figure and couldn't help but murmur to herself, it seems the Astral Pavilion is truly wicked. They're doomed. She shook her head, as if she had already foreseen the fate of the Astral Pavilion. Meanwhile, at a branch of the Astral Pavilion, a man gazed at the starry sky, lost in memories. Such nostalgia. Back then, Lu Outyen and I came from there, bringing along our fellow disciples to this mysterious revival area. We met the esteemed Purple Emperor and initiated the tripartite agreement. In the blink of an eye, almost 100 years have passed. We're finally on the brink of success. Once it's achieved, we'll use her flesh and blood to create an elixir for my daughter-in-law to consume. Perhaps she could give birth to an offspring with a pure bloodline of the human race. Suddenly, a subordinate approached and reported, Master, someone is approaching the mountain. The master turned his head. Who would come up the mountain at this hour? Did the mountain protection formation not stop them? The subordinate quickly explained, it's Prince Xiao Tian from the Great Flame Dynasty. He has the jade token we gifted to the Empress, allowing him access to our mountain, hence he could ascend. The master was taken aback. Xiao Tian, that pretty boy who relies on his looks, what's he doing at our Astral Pavilion? How did he come all this way? And is he accompanied by anyone? No, just him alone. The subordinate replied, he's walking up the mountain with a sincere expression. His eyes are full of determination, and he seems compassionate. The master looked puzzled. Compassionate? What is this Xiao Tian up to? Does he have a death wish or something? Master, should we invite him up? The master waved his hand dismissively. No need. If that fool wants to climb the mountain, let him. Once he reaches the top, we'll just send him back down. It's amusing, especially in the middle of the night. Hearing this, the subordinates chuckled coldly. On the other side, Xiao Xiao Tian continued his ascent, taking each step deliberately. He sighed internally. How many Oscars do they owe me for this performance? After about another hour of climbing, Xiao Tian finally arrived at the astral pavilion. The pavilion's master and his men were already waiting for him. Seeing Xiao Tian's arrival, the master was the first to speak. Prince Xiao, climbing must be tiring, isn't it? Xiao Tian stretched and took a deep breath. You have 2 chances left for me to forgive you. Unfortunately, you failed my test just now and lost one opportunity. I hope you can perform better next time. Try to seize the few redemption opportunities left. Upon hearing this, the master spread his hands dismissively. Prince Xiao, you keep saying you want to forgive us. What exactly did our astral pavilion do wrong? Xiao Tian feigned anger. Astral pavilion, in collusion with Eastern Flame Kingdom and the Holy Demon Sect, intervened in the life of my father-in-law, the esteemed Purple Emperor. You deceived his feelings, and that's fraud. Moreover, you caused the death of my 2 elder uncles and deceived the current Empress. Your actions are absolutely horrifying. For committing such grave offenses and still laughing here, I'm deducting another chance for forgiveness. The master looked slightly startled. How did you find out? The secrecy measures for our plan were thorough. How could someone like you, who survives on his looks, know? Xiao Tian retorted. It doesn't matter how I know. The master, unconcerned, even mocked him. Oh, I'm so scared. Prince Xiao. So, tell us, how should we repent? Xiao Tian listed his demands. First, I want Astral Pavilion's master, Zhou Tianji, to write a self-criticism letter and read it while kneeling at the gates of the Great Flame Dynasty for 3 days as a sign of sincerity. Zhou Tianji must also inform Astral Pavilion headquarters to abandon the 3-way plan. Secondly, the culprits responsible for the death of my 2 elder uncles must be handed over and be publicly executed at the noon gate of the Great Flame Dynasty's imperial city. Third, given the unique environment of the southern wastelands where one shouldn't stay for long, I'll graciously ask the Astral Pavilion headquarters to cede some of its territory as compensation to the Great Flame Dynasty. As for compensation for my wife, father-in-law, uncles, and my own emotional distress, along with death compensation, labor costs, hardship fees, and such, a mere compensation of 18 billion mid-grade spirit stones will suffice. Then, you must inform me of the location of Astral Pavilion's headquarters and the Eastern Flame Kingdom, as well as how to get there, and then work on infrastructure building and labor in the Great Flame Dynasty for 100 years. That should suffice. Xiao Tian didn't even notice the astonished expressions of the people from Astral Pavilion. He was still contemplating how magnanimous he was. He originally intended to demand 50 billion mid-grade spirit stones and labor reforms for 500 years. He had significantly reduced his demands. His adoptive father was right. He should correct his overly merciful tendencies. Zhou Tianji, looking at the self-absorbed Xiao Tian, was speechless. Did Empress Ziruan go blind? How could she fall for this delusional pretty boy? Fortunately, his delusional state can be an advantage. We can capture him and find out who leaked the information. So, Zhou Tianji told Xiao Tian, I don't have time for your nonsense. I'll give you 2 choices. Either you come with me willingly or I'll capture you. Xiao Tian, somewhat incredulously, responded, I've been extremely generous, offering you an Astral Pavilion a chance. And yet, you want to arrest me? 3rd chances are the last. Are you sure you don't want to cherish this opportunity? Before Zhou Tianji could reply, his deputy couldn't help but laugh uproariously. The sight of the deputy laughing infuriated Xiao Tian. I came to discuss serious matters, and you dare laugh? Clearly, you're a heartless killer. You can't be spared. Xiao Tian then raised his fist and delivered a punch straight at the deputy. The force exploded instantly, causing a straight line in space to shatter, pulverizing the deputy along with it. Zhou Tianji's formerly amused expression froze. As he stared at the extending spatial rift, only one thought came to his mind. Lu Outyin, damn you. Is this really the naive and harmless pretty boy you described? Moments later, Zhou Tianji tried to compose himself, his expression complex. Just as he was about to speak, he saw Xiao Tian bring his palms together, miraculously mending the shattered spatial rift. Zhou Tianji swallowed hard, utterly stunned. Is he even human? He shattered space and could fix it back. After mending the rift, Xiao Tian looked at everyone with a serious expression. I lost my temper just now, but let me remind you, this is a serious matter. No more jokes and smiles. Treat it with the gravity it deserves. Is it that hard for you all to repent and do the right thing? Zhou Tianji waved his hands in panic. No, Prince, you misunderstood. I accept all the conditions you put forth. We'll make sure they are met satisfactorily. Xiao Tian sighed in relief. That's more like it. I'm not unreasonable. As long as you sincerely admit your mistakes, I'm willing to give you a chance to start afresh. Zhou Tianji nodded vigorously. Rest assured, Prince, we will sincerely apologize and repent. However, Xiao Tian suddenly laughed. About the compensation of 18 billion, you'll need to add another 2 billion. Prince, why? Zhou Tianji was taken aback. Xiao Tian explained earnestly. Think about it. Just now, with that punch, I helped you cleanse a harmful element from your group. Isn't a fee of 2 billion reasonable? Zhou Tianji internally wanted to throttle Xiao Tian, thinking, how does this make any sense? Are you even listening to yourself? Yet, outwardly, he readily agreed. Seeing this, Xiao Tian was very pleased. I knew it. With reason and emotion, you would see the error of your ways. Now, hand it over. Zhou Tianji looked a bit bewildered. Prince Xiao, what are you talking about? The compensation. 20 billion mid-grade spirit stones. Prince, 20 billion mid-grade spirit stones is a huge amount. I don't carry that with me. I need to arrange for it to be delivered. Xiao Tian glanced at the time. It's fine. There are about 3 hours until the first light of dawn. Plenty of time. Once you've met all my conditions by sunrise, we can head to the Imperial City to apologize. Zhou Tianji, somewhat stunned, asked Xiao Tian, Prince Xiao, are you saying that I need to present 20 billion spirit stones before dawn? Besides that, those coming from your headquarters to apologize and the culprit should also appear before me by sunrise. And also, the territory you're ceding from Astral Pavilion must be prepared. Zhou Tianji sighed in exasperation. Prince, are you in such a hurry because of some pressing matters? Xiao Tian glanced at him and said, exactly. I need to get back before sunrise to prepare a loving breakfast. My recent performance hasn't been up to par, and I fear my allowance might get cut. Zhou Tianji was flabbergasted, thinking, is this guy for real? Is he a lapdog or something? However, the 3-hour deadline set by Xiao Tian felt too tight, and Zhou Tianji felt overwhelmed. Xiao Tian responded with, if I were in your shoes, given 3 hours to prepare, I'd be stifling my laughter. Besides, what challenges can't be overcome? Zhou Tianji nearly burst into tears. Prince, even if I use transportation arrays to get back, it would still take several days. This isn't something that can just be overcome by sheer will. Xiao Tian waved him off. You seem to be obstinately persistent in your misconceptions. This last chance I'm giving, you don't seem to want to cherish it. Zhou Tianji was petrified. Prince Xiao, I acknowledge your strength, but using your power to act as you please and being so unreasonable is not fair. Xiao Tian's expression darkened. Are you telling me I'm being unfair? Are you accusing me of being unreasonable? When you plundered the fortune of the nation and tried to harm the entire populace of the Great Flame Dynasty, did you speak of fairness then? When you harmed my father-in-law and his family, did you talk about being reasonable? Xiao Tian's aura erupted in anger as he continued to berate those innocent people who died because of you. Could they hear your so-called reasoning? Your so-called fairness? It makes me sick. Even now, you show no remorse. You are nothing but beasts in human skin, consuming others without leaving a bone behind. You brought this upon yourselves. Everyone present was stunned, and before they could react, Xiao Tian sent out a palm strike, directly killing several of them. Another deputy pavilion master thought, damn it, Zhou Tianji, were you tired of living that you provoked him? No sooner had he finished this thought than he too vanished from existence. The remaining individuals, witnessing the horrifying scene of people being obliterated and sensing the terrifying aura permeating the environment, all tried to flee in panic, hoping to escape with their lives. However, Xiao Tian seemed to be everywhere at once. In a mere instant, he appeared in front of every single one of them. No matter where they hid or which corner they tried to escape to, Xiao Tian's finger would find them, piercing their consciousness. Those struck had a bloody hole appear on their foreheads, and they fell to the ground. In the blink of an eye, Xiao Tian finished his task and returned to Zhou Tianji's side. Zhou Tianji's eyes were filled with rage, and he muttered, so, you're acting as the Avenger, the King of Hell. You've been hiding your identity with ulterior motives. Now, you'll be exposed. If even one disciple of Astral Pavilion escapes, your true face will surely be revealed. Xiao Tian merely shook his head. Before coming here, I had already ascertained that this branch of Astral Pavilion had 147 members. Now, only you remain. Do you have any last words? Zhou Tianji gritted his teeth, thinking that there might still be a chance. Xiao Tian valued Ziruoyan greatly, as well as the people of the Great Flame Dynasty. Perhaps if he revealed the biggest secret, there might be a glimmer of hope. Just as Zhou Tianji was about to speak, Xiao Tian suddenly grabbed his throat. Xiao Tian mused aloud, impressive. Even at this point, you refuse to speak with me. There's some backbone in you. Though your group deserved their fate, this resolve of yours in the face of death is commendable. Zhou Tianji's face turned red from suffocation, desperately trying to break free from Xiao Tian's grasp. But Xiao Tian continued to speak. If you had known it would come to this, why did you start in the first place? Your feeble attempts to hurt me are in vain. The next moment, Xiao Tian noticed Zhou Tianji using his blood to write in the air, I have a major secret about Ziruoyan. Only then did Xiao Tian release him. Catching his breath, Zhou Tianji explained, Prince Xiao, you only know part of the story. Plundering the nation's fortune is just the tip of the iceberg. Our Astral Pavilion has deeper, more secretive aims that even the Eastern Flame Kingdom and the Holy Demon Sect are unaware of. Xiao Tian squatted down, looking serious. What secret aim? If I tell you, can you promise not to harm me further? Not harm you? Yes. Then, I can allow you to take your own life as atonement. Xiao Tian's sudden grin made Zhou Tianji freeze in shock. Zhou Tianji felt so humiliated that he could feel his teeth grinding. Never in his life had he felt such indignity. A warrior can be killed, but not humiliated. As Zhou Tianji was about to slap his own forehead in suicide, Xiao Tian quickly grabbed his hand. What are you doing? Didn't we just agree? You tell me the secret, and then you can end your own life. You haven't revealed the secret yet. Zhou Tianji, at the brink of his patience, yelled, when did we agree to that? Xiao Tian, don't push me too far. Xiao Tian glared and without hesitation, slapped him. Why are you suddenly yelling? You scared me. But then, with a sharp pop, Xiao Tian froze in real realization. He had unintentionally slapped Zhou Tianji's head clean off. Where the hell did his head go? Xiao Tian exclaimed in disbelief. Puppy helpfully chimed in, Master, it seems like you accidentally exploded it. Xiao Tian, feeling rather frustrated, continued walking towards the Astral Pavilion. If I'm not mistaken, the location of the Astral Pavilion is considered part of the Great Flame Dynasty's territory, right? He asked Puppy. Yes, Master, Puppy responded, disregarding the false Imperial project. This land belongs to the Great Flame Dynasty. It's technically leased to others. Upon hearing this, Xiao Tian forcefully pushed open the doors to the treasury. Have they paid their taxes? Based on the records of the Great Flame Dynasty, there's no record of Astral Pavilion ever paying taxes. Xiao Tian, shaking his head in disapproval, remarked, not paying taxes? That's not acceptable. It looks like I'll have to seize it on their behalf. Without hesitation, he emptied the entire treasury. Later, Xiao Tian made his way to a side hall within the Astral Pavilion and indulged in a warm bath. He examined the treasures he had acquired and praised Puppy. You did well, Puppy. You even categorized and documented the books and artifacts I collected. Show me this airborne flight artifact. And this emblem, does it represent the Great Flame Empire? Yes, Master. The Southern Flame Domain, which was ruled by the Great Flame Empire, left behind many relics after it transformed into the Southern Wilderness. Most of these items come from those relics and therefore bear the emblem of the Great Flame Empire. There's no historical record in Astral Pavilion's library about the emblem of the Great Flame Dynasty. Xiao Tian pondered, is there a connection between the Great Flame Dynasty and the Great Flame Empire? Unable to figure it out, he finally decided to let it go. Whatever. Bathing is more relaxing. I don't feel like thinking anymore. It's exhausting. An hour later, Xiao Tian got up. It's getting late. I should head back soon. Soon after, at the old mansion of the Liu Yan family in Green Flame Town, both Liu Yan and Zhongling felt a sudden jolt. He's back already? As Xiao Tian landed, Zhongling immediately asked, Prince, did you forgive them? Caught off guard by her question, Xiao Tian paused momentarily before shaking his head. Unfortunately, their sins are too grave. I generously gave them 3 chances, but they didn't take them. Alas, it's my own inability. I couldn't save them. However, I did ensure they departed peacefully. Zhongling tried to console him. Prince, don't be disheartened. In the future, there will be people who will truly understand your deep intentions. They'll realize that you weren't simply ending their lives, but cleansing them of their sins, allowing them to be better individuals in their next life. Hearing this, Xiao Tian, feeling understood, affectionately ruffled Zhongling's hair. What a teachable child. Liu Yan, you should learn from this young one here. Look at how enlightened she is. Enough of this. I need to prepare breakfast. To reward you both, I'll let you taste my culinary skills. Watching Xiao Tian walk away, Zhongling spoke. What did I tell you, Sister Liu Yan? I knew that the wicked people of Astral Pavilion would not live to see the sun rise today. Liu Yan sighed. You truly are getting to understand the prince better each day. Zhongling responded with a resigned smile. That's because, at times, the prince can be quite childlike. He often exists in his own world. The emperor once mentioned that the prince always seems to have a lonely smile, as if he doesn't fit into this world. Yet, he always faces everything with positivity.